recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. Pursuant to Governor Healey's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of the 2025 extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 471-785-733 #. Or you can join the meeting via online Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, which is Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public may speak to any issue, hearing, or business item on the agenda during the meeting when you're recognized by the chair. So I'm just going to go through our board procedural steps. We start off with a roll call of all board members. We ask if any citizens or non-board members participating in the call via the phone only for their name and the last 4 digits of their phone number for identification purposes. The hearing notice is read by Sarah, our principal permitting officer. You or your representative presents your appeal or application. Anyone in favor of the appeal or application may speak. There's a 5-minute time limit on that. The chair may read or summarize all letters received by the board. Anyone against the appeal or application may speak or ask questions, another 5-minute time limit. Applicant may rebut testimony. Board members may direct questions to anyone present. The board hears any further information. The board closes the public hearing, and then we deliberate. Board votes on the appeal or application. All votes are taken by roll call. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the granting of special permits, variances, and appeals requires supermajority, meaning you need 4 of 5 voting members to approve your application to succeed. Voting today will be Lee Hovey, myself, Dave Nixon, Paul Semple, and David Veach. At the end of the meeting, we close the meeting via verbal confirmation, and we note the time of adjournment.
Thank you. I'll do this first, and then we'll do that. Okay. To authorize this form of meeting, we need a roll call. We'll start with Mr. Veach.
Yes, David H. Veach, and I approve this meeting format.
Ed Acton, and I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve of this format.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, and I approve.
Lee Hovey, I approve.
Okay, before we go on to the first application, we believe there's someone either on a Microsoft Teams, not here, who is recording this meeting. If so, they need to identify themselves. Guess not. Okay, so let's begin, Sarah, please, with 26-061. Oh, did we have any minutes?
Not yet, but you will soon.
Well, we have a,
You will have a packet of minutes.
okay.
Application
Incidentally, Chantel, welcome back.
number 26-061, Daniel and Dana Estes, care of Thomas Moore, 949 Long Pond Road, Brewster, Mass. 02631. Owner of property located at 37 Crosby Lane, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 8E, Block 14, Lot 12. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a conforming dwelling in a non-conforming lot via the demolition of the existing dwelling and the construction of a new dwelling. The proposed dwelling will comply with all bulk and dimensional requirements of the bylaw, but is considered a substantial alteration, and under the second accept clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, requires the grant of a special permit. The existing building coverage is 2,860 square feet, and the proposed building coverage is 2,997 square feet, where 3,000 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 0 feet of frontage where 100 feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield, is one of your aliases
It is.
Thomas Moore?
It is. I had been using it since the end of the Bay State Colony, so I thought that was appropriate.
Very good. Okay. Mr. Litchfield, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Dan and Dana Estes, who Dan's in the yellow shirt and Dana is next to him, and next to them is their architect, Tom Moore, who designed the house, which is before you today. I also handed out to the board members, and I understand from Sarah that she had also provided it to you, a slight revision of the floor plan and of the elevations. There were a couple of very minor changes as to the windows on the south side, the so-called street side, and there was also a clarification that there was a casement doorway that the Board of Health wanted to address. We know you've been out to the site. It is not exactly a thoroughfare, but we also know you've been out to Crosby Lane in the past, not all that long ago, at least those of you who've been on the board for any length of time. Dan and Dana bought this property back in 2002, and it is, as shown there, sort of a curious style. It has been added onto and modified and so forth. It is presumably not something classed as an architectural gem, but given the price of real estate in Chatham, where the Estes have moved to on a full-time basis, they bought this in 2002, and they have been down here now year-round and are going to remain here, but given the price of real estate, the only choice they have in order to live here on a year-round basis, but to have some additional space, is to replace the existing home. Pardon me. And Tom has designed what I think you can find to be an appropriate traditional design, architectural shingles on the roof and cedar shingles on the sidewalls. Would you like, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moore, to talk about the plans, or it's your call?
No, yeah, I don't think it's necessary. We all went out to see it, and it was pretty obvious as to what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Be happy to go into the criteria. While many of the nearby lots are not, and thank you, Sarah, for pulling that up. That is the updated version with the correct portrayal of the fenestration. I get paid extra for saying fenestration rather than windows. While as to the criteria, while many of the nearby lots are not conforming, this lot has 150% of their required size. It is, however, a lot without frontage. It's sort of a panhandle that has an easement over the property in front, but it lacks frontage. But the existing structure complies to our bylaw. The site, I think you can find to have been adequate for residential use, as it has been since 1905, when the first part of the existing house was built. I think you can also find that the site is adequate for the construction of the new home, which meets all dimensional requirements, street and sideline setbacks, height, all bulk requirements of the bylaw. In other words, the house is completely compliant as to zoning. The increase in coverage is 102 square feet on an almost 30,000 square foot lot. As to compatibility of size, on the third page of the handout, the size of the abutting properties or nearby properties are shown. We have the second largest lot in the area. The only one that's larger is owned by the gentleman in your left rear corner, who's here, a neighbor who's here in support. We are in mid-range as to gross floor area, living area, and coverage of 9.6%. It is, of course, as you know from having been out there, a highly private location on a private way. But unlike some of the houses, we're set far back from our lot line and from the street. Some of the houses, as you know from having been up there, are sort of cheek by jowl with the street. Ours, while it doesn't have frontage on the street, something like 160 feet back from the street, and it's going to be 30-odd feet from the lot line, where only 15 feet is required. So if you approve the special permit, coverage will remain below the limit. The living area obviously increases, which is what's being sought by a family which has made this their year-round home. but it remains reasonable and compatible of at least equal importance. It's not readily visible. I don't think while it is larger, it's not really going to be terribly well noticed. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, we are nonconforming only as to frontage, as Sarah read in the hearing notice. There is no increase whatsoever in nonconformity. And given the change in the statute with which you are familiar as of July 1st, we said goodbye to so-called Bjorkland hearings. That if you are proposing to change, alter, or extend a structure on a non-conforming lot and you meet all dimensional requirements, you don't have to come and visit with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And one might scratch one's head and ask why that doesn't apply here, and it's because Town Council has determined that change, alter, and extend does not include demolition and rebuilding. His opinion is contrary to that of the Real Estate Bar Association, which was behind the statutory change, but I'm not going to argue that point today. We're here because I enjoy spending time with you, as you know. So we have the equivalent of a Bjorkland hearing in that we have in this case, a conforming lot rather than a non-conforming lot, except for the lack of frontage, so we do need a special permit. As to suitability of site, impact on the natural environment, it is an older neighborhood, but without any nearby wetlands. The site has been suitable for residential use for approximately 120 years. There are no environmental issues in the rebuilding, but a new septic system without any increase in bedrooms, because this is a 4-bedroom house and it will remain so. The new septic system will be a small improvement. As to scale, sighting, mass, views and vistas, neighborhood visual character, streetscape, and so forth, the existing structure, as I indicated, no disrespect, Dan and Dana, but the existing structure possesses minimal charm or architectural splendor. It is, of course, sited far from the street. If you're passing by and you stop in the middle of Crosby Lane and look very sharply to your left, you can, in fact, see the house from Crosby Lane. Given that there are only 2 houses beyond Crosby Lane, I don't think beyond this house on Crosby Lane, I don't think the existing house doesn't have much impact on views and vistas, and the new house, while plainly larger, is of a scale that remains appropriate with traditional shingle sidewalls and details, and it's, again, without impact on Crosby Lane. It's about 165 feet back from the street and no impact on views and vistas. The Historical Commission reviewed the proposal and found the existing structure to be not historically significant, which is perhaps an understatement, and did not impose a demolition delay. As to compatibility of use, until Dan and Dana moved down here, it had been seasonal. The only change is that it is and will remain a year-round residential use, and I would want to emphasize, not a short-term rental. That's not why Dan and Dana are doing this. They want to do it for their own purposes. They are going to live there. As to adequacy of sewage and water, we have town water and a 4-bedroom septic system. The floor plan has been revised in a very minor way for the casement opening, has been reviewed and approved by the health agent, as the chair or the clerk or someone will read at some point soon. As to traffic flow and safety, again, it is not a thoroughfare. It is a dirt and gravel private way. Public doesn't have any real right to go down there. Only the homeowners do and their guests, and in your case, the invitees. There is no change. And again, since there's no intention to rent, the only people who will be visiting this house are the applicants, their 2 adult children, and their guests. That will remain the same as it has been since they moved here on a full-time basis after 22 years of ownership. Noise and litter and adequacy of utilities are not at issue here. So what is at issue, as you know, is whether the proposed new house with greater living area but meeting all setback and height requirements of the bylaw is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure on a non-conforming lot. Again, the proposed house meets all bylaw requirements, and to the degree that it can be seen, the current structure may make positive comparison rather easy, because I think Tom Moore has done a nice job, and certainly not more detrimental. The The design of the proposed house again incorporates traditional elements on a site where impact on streetscape is essentially non-existent. Dan and Deborah have spoken with almost all of their neighbors. I believe the chair will read some letters which are supportive. There have, however, been suggestions that there's going to be an increase in bedrooms, which is simply not true. It is 4 and will remain 4, and it'll be a short-term rental, also untrue. Instead, they are unusual applicants. They are year-round residents on whose behalf I am appearing. That's kind of rare. As you know, we have a lot of folks who talk about, their seasonal rentals. Dan and Deborah are full-time residents who want a home with more space. And Tom Moore has designed for them one which meets every dimensional requirement of the bylaw. So in light of the criteria and the plans in this rather hidden-away location, and especially in comparison to what's there now, I think that you can find the proposed house is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor, just in favor, of this application? If so, please indicate you wish to join the conversation. Don't see anyone, so I'll read the correspondence. First is from Andrew Grover, who is the new health agent for the town of Chatham. First time I've read his name. He writes on August 11th, based on the existing records and permits on file with the health department, the existing dwelling is approved as a 4-bedroom residence. Based on the proposed floor plans dated 8/10/2026, the proposed new dwelling maintains the approved 4-bedroom count. The applicants are also proposing to install a new 4-bedroom septic system demonstrating compliance with Title V and the local subsurface sewage regulations. Based on these findings, I find the aspects of the proposed project that fall within the health department's jurisdiction to be acceptable. And this is a note from Christina Bassett. She is writing for the Chatham Historical Commission. What does she write? She writes, the Chatham Historical Commission found 37 Crosby Lane not historically significant and therefore did not impose a demo delay. And for those who don't know, that commission can impose a demolition delay of up to 18 months if they wish. Then we have a note from Gary Asgian, I believe you pronounce it, and Gary is at 134 Crosby Lane. He writes on 8/1, I am a resident and owner of 34, which is situated directly across the right-of-way to 37. I fully support Dan and Dana's proposal to rebuild a new home on their lot. As one of the longest-standing homeowners on our private way, Dan and Dana have consistently demonstrated stewardship by trimming the vegetation, filling potholes, and even building and erecting the sign for Crosby Lane. Last winter, Dan hand-shoveled over 100 feet of snow, allowing me to drive to and from my residence. I believe this new home build will be a benefit to property owners on our street, and with its Cape Cod charm will improve our neighborhood's appearance. And then we have a note from Rebecca Fuller. She writes on August 2nd, I'm the resident and owner of 47 Crosby, and the eastern abutter to 37. I fully support the proposal to rebuild a new single-family dwelling as submitted by Dane and Daniel. I believe this project will have a positive effect on the neighborhood. I also know Dan and Dana to be good and responsible stewards of their land. Thank you for your consideration. Next, the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to either A, speak against this application, or B, has a specific question? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Gentleman in the back.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I know it was inadvertent, but positive speakers, I trust, will be able to speak after Mr. Farber speaks. Those who are here to support. That, I don't think there was a request for that.
There was.
It was?
Yeah, right before the correspondence were read.
He'll get to it.
Thank you. Mr. Farber.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nixon and members of the board. The lady passing out the handout is my wife, Kim. We own the property at the end of Crosby Lane at 53 Crosby. We've owned that property since 2002. You will note on the handout that I refer to this as a limited opposition. The issue that Kim and I find with this application is based on the road itself. Crosby Lane, if I'm sure the members have found when they went out there, is literally 10 feet wide. No two cars of any size can pass, so that if one is going in or out, you either have to back all the way back to Route 28 or to our driveway, or back into a neighbor's driveway. It just aggravates the situation when it's a large truck, like an Amazon delivery vehicle, a UPS vehicle, that sort of thing. Will another house of this size add to the traffic? Not necessarily. I'm certainly in my belief that the Estes are a family of 4, we've met them, and that their use of the property will remain as it has up to now. However, none of us can predict the future, and certainly a house of this size, the proposed size, will attract people of many different varieties, and the use of this house could multiply dramatically in the future. And of course, the road is the road. And as we all know, under the ADU, statewide ADU statute, now one can build an ADU, a second dwelling unit, on their property as a matter of right, as long as it's less than 900 square feet. The early deeds refer to this, what we call Crosby Lane, as a cartway. And, but yet this cartway has developed over the years, as so many roads in Chatham, to handle larger and larger houses and more traffic. And the question is that this Crosby Lane has the potential for, it already serves, by my count, 6 or 7 homes, 6 on the north side, and the potential for 2 or 3 more on the south side. There is an additional lot, which I'll speak to in a moment, owned by a Thomas Dutton that is roughly 7,000 square feet. And it's the lot through which, or next to, this right-of-way that leads into the Estes property. So that's a potential, another dwelling unit. I don't know if it's a buildable lot. Mr. Dutton says that it is. Do I believe the house is much bigger than what this little road would warrant? Yes, I do. But that's certainly the nature of Chatham these days. On the issue of the footprint, it may be true, as Mr. Litchfield says, that it's only 100 feet more. However, if the board members went out there, you'll note that a lot of the present under-roof structure was formerly either a deck or a porch and has been covered over, unheated, no foundation as far as I know. So it's the footprint is not different, but the home, the size is dramatically different. Now let me get to the real point. At present, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, when there's a truck that's coming in and meets a car going in or out, there's this backing thing that has to happen, and that will continue. Since Kim and I are at the end of the street, we get the repercussions from that most. Indeed, though, and I can show you on exhibits 1 and 2.
Mr. Farber, shall remind you only have 30 seconds.
All right. What I'm proposing, and it's in my statement, is that this right-of-way be located and defined on the ground and be put in a recorded deed so everyone knows where it is and what it is. And I'm also proposing that at the northerly end of that right-of-way, the site plan be amended to show a dedicated turning area on the Estes property. And I think that will keep people, or hopefully keep people, from backing into our yard, pushing snow into our yard and that sort of thing. I think that's the best thing for the future. It would allow the Estes to build their house, but would also protect the neighborhood from increased construction in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Farber.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else, either here or on Microsoft Teams, that wishes to speak either against this or as a specific question? Gentleman in the back. There's two gentlemen in the back.
I'm looking to support it, and I heard you say for Team Microsoft Teams people only, so I would like a moment to speak. Who do I go first? You can go.
Yeah, no discussion, please. Does anyone wish to come? Okay.
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. I have two questions. How many bathrooms and how tall is the building?
Okay.
Mr. Moore, if I could, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moore advises the house is 28 feet, so it's 2 feet below the limit. It's
Okay.
a fairly flat lot, so I don't think there are any grade plane issues.
Thank you.
If it was 30, I would have complained, but, you know, it is a quaint neighborhood, and, you know, I just have a problem when there's more bathrooms than there are bedrooms in the house, but in this case, it doesn't seem to be that. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to either speak against or has a specific question? Seeing none, apparently I missed a gentleman who wished to speak in favor. Is that correct?
Thank you. My name is Luther Bates. I live at 15 Crosby Lane, which is the immediate western abutter. We share a property line of about his entire westerly line. My house is two driveways earlier to the street of Route 28, so I don't have the traffic problem.
Excuse me, would you mind taking off your hat? We're on television.
Oh, pardon me.
And thank you, sir.
Certainly.
Thank you. Everybody wants to see your smiling face. That's fine.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
So I don't have the same traffic problem and snow problems that the neighbors further down the street may encounter, but I certainly have enjoyed Dan and Dana's living there for the past over 20 years. They've been great neighbors to me. We have, our property line has about 50 foot of naturally native vegetation in between their line and my home. So I barely see them. I'm not going to have a problem with the size of the house. I don't have any issues at all, and I'd like to support their application as great neighbors in our community.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Litchfield, is this gentleman getting up to speak? Are you getting up to speak? No. No? Okay. Would you like a rebuttal to Mr. Farber's comments?
Briefly, if I could. Couple of things. Mr. and Mrs. Farber, as they said, own the property at the end of the road. Although they don't live there, it is not currently a short-term rental, but I understand their concern about traffic on the road, of which this house is going to cause no increase. As I indicated, it's a 4-bedroom house. It'll remain a 4-bedroom house. Mr. and Mrs. Estes live there year-round, will continue to do so. As for the use of a house or the threat of an ADU, that applies to virtually every house in the town of Chatham. Any house could change. A cottage on Stage Island could become a multifamily dwelling, I suppose. I don't think that's going to happen. And the Estes don't have any intention of doing that. As to the definition of the right-of-way, I have a plan from 1980 which showed it existing then and parenthetically curving over the back of the property owned by Mr. Dutton. I understand someone mentioned that perhaps they should remove their right-of-way. Curiously, the definition exists. It is, quote, as the driveway now exists. That's been the definition in the registry, in the deeds for years. Mr. Clark showed it as a 16-foot wide right-of-way, and perfectly frankly, I don't know why, but I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at Mr. Dutton's property, and my understanding is that the language says, as the driveway now exists, so the fact that it curves over the back of Mr. Dutton's property has been going on since a plan done in 1980, which is, and is presumably of no concern to him. I don't think you need me to respond to anything else, but if there's anything I missed, I'll be happy to.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, questions from the board? Mr. Veach?
I don't have any questions, Dave, thank you.
All right. Ed?
No questions.
Paul?
No questions.
Ginny?
I have a couple, Mr. Litchfield. So the driveway, can we just go back? You're saying that because that corner piece at the top of the driveway has always been that way, it's okay for it to remain that way?
If I could. In my opinion, without thoroughly reviewing all of the titles or the titles to both the Dutton and Estes properties, yes, it can remain where it is for the language in the deed. But anticipating the question, we did prepare a plan showing it how it could be relocated if we were required to, or if the Estes and the Duttons agreed that it should be done. But I'm not aware of any legal requirement.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, that was something I saw, and I did think I heard you say that it was fine, but I wanted to verify that. I don't see any plans for a generator on here. Has that been contemplated?
I don't know the answer, but because of our setback issues, there's no requirement for approval. It could go on the north side of the house or I think it could go on any side of the house and meet the 15-foot applicable setback.
Plenty of room. Okay, and then just one more question. I think, what you said about Mr. Farber, the gentleman who spoke in opposition, he doesn't live at that home? Is that what you said at the beginning of your?
I'm sorry.
Did you say he does not live in that residence? Is that what you said at the beginning?
I've had the pleasure of knowing Mrs. Farber longer than either of us would want to admit. But insofar as I know, they live off of Sam Ryder Road, and this is a rental property.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Steve?
I have no additional questions.
Lee?
No questions.
Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Need a vote on that?
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Veach votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, deliberations. Ed?
It seems like a very reasonable project to me, meets all the setbacks. The only reason they're here today is because of the frontage issue with the lot. It is one of the largest lots in the neighborhood, and can't really see it from the road. It's sort of set back, and if I were voting, I would approve the project, and I certainly don't see it being detrimental to the neighborhood at all.
Paul?
Well, I agree. When you go down the road, it certainly is narrow and confining, and I can see how people would end up backing up to trying to deal with UPS or other kinds of delivery trucks if they were being done. It seems to me that that's an issue for the neighbors to work out between themselves. I don't know why it would not be possible. I don't see it as necessarily within our jurisdiction. But as to whether it is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, I don't see how it would be.
Jenny?
Yeah, I agree with Ed and Paul. I like the fact they purchased it 22 years ago and they purchased a cottage, and then today they're making it a full-time residence. And when you look at the site plan, I mean, I know this rendering looks like it's bigger, and it is bigger, but it's really because they've taken what is a box and just spread it out to a rectangle. it is an increase of building coverage of 137 square feet. It's a very modest increase. And it's taller because they're adding I think I watched the historic hearing and heard Mr. Moore refer to it as a 1.5-story house, and it is. I mean, they're going up, but only to the 28, a little over 28 feet. So I think it's a great project, and I don't think that it's substantially more detrimental either.
Steve?
Yes, when I first started looking at this on paper before I drove out there to see, I thought it was going to be a lot of house for that neighborhood. But after driving out this morning and meeting and speaking with the owners and getting sort of a backstory and seeing the property, I don't think this would be detrimental to the neighborhood at all. It's well back off the road, probably barely visible, and I think it's a good project.
Lee?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I think it is a great project. It meets our criteria. And to Steve's point, definitely worth the trip out to see the lot, to see the surrounding area. And I will support this.
Dave?
Yeah, I guess most of my comments would be in alignment with what Paul had to say about the access, and I would hope that the neighbors could find a way to work that out. It can be frustrating, I'm sure, and a not great situation, but I don't think that that's a reason for us to apply any of that to this proposal. The thing that I would say, I mean, there are a lot of smaller homes in the neighborhood, but I think it's important to consider that this project meets all of the dimensional requirements of the bylaw. And so, to that degree, I'd be hard-pressed to say that it's substantially more detrimental somehow, even though there are maybe some smaller buildings around. But it does meet the dimensional requirements, and so I'm happy to support it. I think it's a nice design. I think its traditional design will fit very well in the neighborhood.
Yeah, for my part, I agree with everything that's been said, particularly when Paul brought out the subject of getting involved in something that isn't in our arena. And this agreement that Mr. Farmer talked about possibly doing is not in our arena. And that's not saying it shouldn't be done. It just should not be done by us, and we're certainly not going to make a condition that it would have to be. Okay.
So then I guess my thinking question with respect to conditions is that this is a location where we would apply our summer restrictions on construction. Seems practical in this case.
Could you read those, please, Dave?
Yes, I would. So I will move approval for application number 26061 with the following conditions. All construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. Between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work shall be permitted on the weekends. Construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
I will second the motion and vote yes.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Jeannie votes yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. That's a unanimous decision, Mr. Litchfield. Thank you. (26-062), please, Sarah.
Application number 26-062, Carl D. Denzer and Helen C. Young, 305 South Ridge Street, 1511, number 1511, Breckenridge, Colorado, 80424. Owners of property located at 15 Edgewater Drive, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map, 15A1, Block 9, Lot H124. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance, AC condenser, within the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. The property contains 20,717 square feet of land area in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw. He's online.
Okay. I'm not too sure who we have, but someone's online that's going to present this. Please identify yourself.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Carl Denzer, the owner of the property. And a little background, we have been coming to Chatham for the last 20 years and decided to take the plunge and purchase a house on Edgewater Drive in February of 2025. It is not yet our full-time residence, but that is in the near-term hopes/plan. When we purchased the property, it had not been updated in many years and needed a number of updates. One of them was adding central air. And we hired Butler Heating and Air Conditioning in April of 2025 to install central air. And I believe Mark applied for a permit, and the first I heard that there were any issues or questions with this was when I received a note from Sarah back in June. So we were unaware that there were any concerns. In terms of the location of the unit, it is on the back of the house. It is not visible from the road or the neighbor's property. There's a group of evergreens that sit between us and the nearest neighbor. So that's really the gist of the situation.
Okay, you have our criteria. Would you like to go through the ones that you believe apply to your situation?
I'm unaware. I believe the only thing that applies is the 50-foot setback. And again, this was the first time I was informed that there were any issues was, again, receiving the notice from you. And then I finally was able to get a hold of Mark yesterday and ask him what the concerns were. And he wasn't sure either what the concerns were. So I believe the only one that is in question is the setback, unless I'm incorrect.
Yeah, you're incorrect. If you went through that list that Sarah sent you, you would find there's a number of things, views and that sort of thing, compatibility, noise. There's a number of things. So you should have that list in your materials.
But, and again, the only thing that I saw that applied, so just to go through, in terms of views, the unit is not visible to any neighbors, nor is it visible from either Morris Island Road or from Edgewater Drive, given its location in the back of the home and the orientation to the neighbors in the immediate north. There's, again, this is a external AC condenser unit, so I'm not sure how you assess the visual character, but again, given that it's not visible to anyone, I don't see how that would apply. From a sewage disposal, this didn't impact any of our sewage as it relates to getting water on and off the property. From a noise perspective, when I talked to Mark about this yesterday, he indicated he installed the latest condenser that meets all relevant noise requirements. I don't know technically what that is, but I can certainly find that out from him. In terms of impact on the natural environment, where the unit was placed, and it is placed on a 4-foot platform, I think per the permit approval or permit request that Mark submitted. On this particular part of the property, there was no vegetation that was disturbed. It is all sand. The backyard is all sand, given the proximity to the water. So there was no impact on slopes, vegetation. And again, no visual impact from any point, unless you are standing right in the backside of our property, right next to the house. That is the only time you can actually see the unit.
Okay, well, that's sufficient. Thank you. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. Don't see anyone, so I'll read the correspondence. This is dated July 30th. It's from the Conservation Commission here in Chatham. They write, "The applicant has not submitted any applications for permitting. The project will require an administrative review when the project will be conditioned to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Local Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 272, and the regulations promulgated thereunder." That is the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak either against this or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you wish to join the conversation. Don't see anyone, so I'm going to go back to you, sir. The note that I read from the Conservation Commission, have you done anything about that?
I didn't receive that communication from the Conservation Commission until yesterday, so I have not done anything to address that, but we are happy to go through the process and address that, yes.
Okay. Okay, questions from the board? Paul?
Well, I understand that it's in place. I guess the question is what Conservation would say with respect to it, but it's going to need their approval in any case, so I think I would suggest that we go ahead and go forward with this. I have no additional questions.
Okay, Ginny, have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Steve?
This is probably a question that Conservation might be asking you, but do you know what the floodplain elevation you're at in your house? Because it seems like you're very near the water.
We are in the floodplain, and again, when we hired Mark to do this work, he researched what I thought were the full set of requirements, and one of those was that the AC unit would need to be placed on a 4-foot platform to conform with the flood requirements, which we did. So that was the only requirement that Mark communicated to us, and we made sure that we adhered to that. If there are things that he was not aware of or did not communicate, I will make sure that we go ahead and address those. And it sounds like one of those is to go to get with the Conservation Commission to get them to review this and get their approval.
I have a feeling they're going to ask you to somehow elevate this, maybe, because I don't know, maybe the building commissioner can help us out with this, but I have a feeling they're going to ask you to somehow elevate that to get it out of the floodplain. I think it has to be a certain, a foot or so above the flood elevation.
Building Commissioner?
I would need to, Jay Briggs, Building Commissioner for Town of Chatham. He said he's got it elevated 4 feet right now, as I believe. So, I mean, I don't know what the flood elevation is on this site. 13? So it would need to be, the base of it would need to be 2 feet above the 13 or elevation 15. They're showing a grade near the location of 12. So if it's 4 feet above that, it could be 16 already. So it may already meet the elevation requirement.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just, want you to be prepared for that, because that might be some questions that come up for you.
Absolutely. Again, I will make sure that this is a learning process for us, and apologize for that, but I will make sure that we both confirm the elevation and that we meet, and if we do not, we will change it so that we do.
Okay, thank you.
Lee?
No questions.
Dave?
No, the only questions I have were relative to those. I didn't quite understand what it's for, but this will get worked out by the Conservation Commission so that it meets the requirements. So I'm fine with that, thanks.
No questions.
Okay. I have none.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
All seconds the motion and votes yes.
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And Veach votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. Steve?
Well, I mean, I suppose since it's already been installed, and I think Conservation is going to have the final say on this, I'm not sure there's much we can do at this point.
Okay, Lee?
Yeah, I agree with Steve. Obviously it's already there. It's working away, so we'll let Conservation do it, their thing.
Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it's, as long as it meets the requirements of the CONSCOM, which it will. If it weren't in place already and they were coming to us, hopefully they would have gone first, CONSCOM, but I can understand and get confused in these things. So I would approve it under any of those circumstances. So I'm happy to support it now.
Ed?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the unit is there, and it sounds like the owner will make everything correct as far as conservation, and sounds like just had a contractor that probably wasn't familiar with Chatham's bylaws, unfortunately. And now it's up to him to fix it. So, yeah, I feel pretty confident after listening to him that he'll make it right.
Paul?
You know, I think from our viewpoint, given the location of the property and the location of the unit, that the use involved would not be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood and the town, and it seems to be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the bylaw once it has approval from conservation. So I would vote yes for that.
Jenny?
I agree with what Paul said, and also my colleagues. And also, one of the things I look at when something is installed after the fact is, would I have approved it in the first place? And I would have. I think an air conditioner is a necessity, so I am supportive of this request.
Okay.
I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations. Did we do that? Or we did that? We did that.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will move.
A motion, please.
Then the only other thing I can move is, no, I move approval for application 26-062. I don't think we need to put conditions on it.
No, because I presume we will get a note from conservation after they go there.
It has to pass their.
That's right, it does, yeah.
I'll second
So-
the motion and vote yes.
And Dave Veach votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I do also, Mr. Danzer, that's a unanimous decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, 26-063, please.
Application number 26-063, Goucher Family Revocable Trust, care of SV Design LLC, 693 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 80 Middle Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 11K, Block 45, Lot HC 61. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a nonconforming dwelling and a nonconforming lot via the construction of additions. The existing dwelling is nonconforming in that it is located 34.2 feet from Middle Road and 30.5 feet from Cove Road, where a 40-foot setback is required. The proposed additions will comply with the road and abutter setback requirements. The existing building coverage is 2,931 square feet, and the proposed building coverage is 3,205 square feet, where 2,900 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 22,630 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the Protective Bylaw.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Paul Muldoon from SV Design, here representing Matt and Carol Goucher and their property at 80 Middle Road. The project here at 80 Middle Road is on an R40 zone. The existing lot is non-conforming by way of lot area. It has 22,630, where 40,000 square feet is required. The existing structure is non-conforming by way of front yard setback on two sides, both the western and the northern side. We have 28.1 feet on the western side, where 40 is required, and 34.2 feet on the northern side. The existing building coverage is non-conforming at 13%, at a square footage number of 2,931, where 2,900 is the maximum. The proposed structure is a modest rebuild of the breezeway. The existing breezeway sits between the garage and the main house, and we are removing that and expanding it about 7 feet towards Middle Road, and then another 4 feet of roof overhang, so there's a front porch added to that front elevation, and then about 2 feet back in following the undulation of the existing footprint. The addition to the rear is upgraded from a simple box bay bump out. One more, Sarah, please. We're removing the box bay bump out, and we are bringing in a more of a gable end dormer or projection to work with the aesthetic of the existing structure on the rear side. The front side, as I mentioned, has a bit of a roof overhang, so we're creating a porch or an exterior stoop for Matt and Carol to sit and greet their neighbors. The roof line between the spaces, the new roof line is going to be captured by both the main house roof line and the garage roof line, sort of simplifying it as today, the projection of the roof line sits above or behind the roof line, so the ridges are misaligned. So we're thinking that a little bit of clarity and simplification there is a good thing. Likewise, the existing oversized chimney mass will be going away. The new footprint will grow by 274 square feet, and about 200 of that is habitable space, and the other 70 square feet is the roof overhang at that front porch. This brings us to a 14.2% building coverage. The materials used here are going to be very similar to what you're seeing on the existing condition, an asphalt roof shingle to match the existing. The rear addition will be clad in white cedar shingles. The front elevation will have a painted vertical board wrapping the 4 windows and singular entry door. White trim throughout. We did get a notice from the Board of Health on some of the comments about the existing septic system and the addition as it projects towards it. Both Thad Eldridge and myself have talked to Andrew Grover about the depth of the foundation and the depth of the slab, and in agreement that we can meet the requirements that he's requested, as well as the bulkhead addition as a bolt-on at a particular depth. Likewise, he commented on the bedroom delineation on our second floor plan, and one of the documents I sent to you is simply changing the label on that room. Now, that room enters out and is only accessed from the garage, and per code that cannot be a bedroom. It is currently being used as a home gym. So that notice is from Mr. Glover and sent to you. The imagery that we sent to you, I got word yesterday that Mr. Eldridge had forgot to stake the rear property or the rear addition. So I went out this afternoon, put some stakes in the ground, and took some pictures and sent them over. The existing floor area, again, first floor 2,931, second floor 1,027, for a total of 3,954 gross floor area. The proposed, with the added 274 square feet, is 4,232. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions or go right into the criteria.
Okay. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you'd like to join the conversation. I don't see anyone. I'll read the correspondence. This is from Andrew Grover. He's our new health agent. He writes on August 10th. Based on the existing records and permits on file with the Health Department, the existing dwelling is approved as a 4-bedroom residence. The existing septic system is sized for a 4-bedroom residence. The dormant space above the garage is not to be used as a bedroom, as it is directly opens into the garage. Labeling on the proposed floor plan should reflect that that space is not to be used for sleeping and is not a bedroom. The proposed expansion of the sunroom gets closer to the existing septic system. However, if the portion that is within 20 feet of the existing soil absorption system is constructed on a slab foundation and the top of the slab elevation is above the top of the septic chamber elevation, and a minimum 10-foot separation is preserved, then the expansion can comply with Title V and the local subsurface sewage regulations. Additionally, a new bulkhead is proposed adjacent to the existing septic tank. In order for this bulkhead to comply with septic system requirements, it must be a bolt-on bulkhead or greater than 10 feet away. That's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak of A, against, or B, has a specific question? I don't see anyone. I don't see anybody on Microsoft Teams. So we'll go to questions from the board. Lee?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Dave?
No question, Dave.
Ed?
No questions.
Paul?
What is a bolt-on bulkhead?
A preformed concrete form that would then be attached to the foundation versus a formed and poured concrete bulkhead.
Okay, thank you.
Jenny?
Paul, I have a question. The new proposed addition has a doorway, which is not going to be the main entry, though? There's still the main entry?
Correct.
Okay, so there is a door, though, and it's,
There is a door both on the front side, on the covered porch, and on the back side to get to the rear yard. The front door in the new addition is meant to gain access to the covered porch for the owners to sit.
okay. It's not the front, meant to be the,
Not meant
replace
to be the
front
front
door. Okay, thank you.
Steve?
I have no questions.
Okay.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Beach votes yes.
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, deliberations. Ginny?
Well, Paul, you do a great job, and I do like what you're proposing visually, but I don't like the increase of the building coverage. It's really substantial. It's 300, and you're already over, and you're asking for more. To get 272, if I heard you right, square feet of interior space, you're asking for 305 square feet that you don't have. So I really struggled with this because I do like it's a beautiful home, and it's a thoughtful, proposed change. But 10% more building coverage when you don't have it, we see these requests, and, I'd venture to say we've, denied several of these probably in the past. So even though I like the project, I'm not comfortable with that much of an ask, unfortunately. And here's why, because I think it matters. And if this doesn't matter, then what does matter when folks come to us for increase in building coverage? A smaller number, yes, we're very happy to give grace when the neighborhood supports it, and I would love to do that, but I think it's too much of an ask, unfortunately.
Steve?
I guess, I think I'm a little torn also as well, because I guess you're adding a little bit to each side of that breezeway.
Correct.
What would be the alternative to that, is just leave it that same size, and what could you do to eliminate?
The space there is unheated and it's very narrow. It's on a slab was a former patio versus a real built structure. So there's minimal CMU block foundation underneath it now. It needs to be replaced. So keeping it the same width, the idea of this space is to create a little bit more volume in the house so that the family can gather in an appropriate spot. Mm-hmm. The main part of the house now has a dining room, kitchen, and a little bit of a sitting area, and with their 3 children and their growing family, it just gets crowded. So this minor expansion on the front and the back aimed to just give a little bit more breathing room on both sides and give it a little bit of a family room feel versus just the simple breezeway connector. The overage that we have now, it's a non-conforming building coverage at 31 square feet. We understand that. And the 274 square feet that we're adding, again, only 200 of that is habitable. The 74 square feet is a roof overhang on that front entry. So we're feeling like this is a modest addition and a modest ask. Again, it is a non-conforming building coverage, and we're sort of following suit with that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Alternatives that we looked at were bigger projects, pulling the form of the garage over to the main house and having more space both on the first and second floor perimeter. As we talked about on the basement level, this slab is going to be up fairly high. We're only going to have about 36 inches, 30 inches of clear space meant for mechanical equipment below the addition. We don't have a full basement there, and there's a small portion of the main house that does have full basement. The majority of it is crawl space.
Okay. Well, it's not affecting the setbacks to the road. It's not getting any closer. It's not affecting the neighbors. I don't think it's detrimental, other than the fact that it is going now 300 feet over what the maximum is, but, I could see justification for that, so I would probably approve this.
Lee?
Yeah, so if you look at the floor plan, you're correct. There is not a lot of living space in that home. And I think it comes down to criteria number 3, which is the extent of proposed increase in nonconforming nature of the structure. And yes, there is an increase in nonconforming in the building coverage. I believe it is not a lot. So, and I think it's worth it. And I think it's a very attractive house. I think the addition is well done and modest, and I think it will make a difference in the living space in the house. I will support this.
Thank you.
Dave Each.
Yeah, it's a nice, this is a proposal that fits, meets the needs of the homeowners. I mean, we have different ways amongst ourselves sometimes how we look at these things. In my judgment, this is a modest proposal that although it may increase the coverage by not what I would call a large amount, again, when you think of, some of it is under a porch, open porch. So visually, I don't see it as it's not really adding mass and visually, in my judgment. So I could not find this to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I don't think I think, what our criteria asks is to evaluate the extent of increase in nonconformity when someone asks. And I don't start from, that's what I try, the way I try to look at it. I don't start from saying, we're talking about zoning changes that were applied to pre-existing non-conforming uses. In this case, the lot size are much non-conforming. So I don't start from the place of saying any increase is something that we should look skeptically at. So I will be happy to support it. Thanks.
Ed?
This property is an example of sort of Cape Cod architecture, where they start out with a small structure and they just sort of add piece by piece by piece. And, it's a beautiful structure. They've kept that feel for the property of that, just expanding cape. It could have added, second floor space in quite a few areas, but they've sort of worked with it. And yes, it's a small increase over the when you're already over building coverage, but I don't feel that's substantially detrimental. And I think that small increase allows the applicant to sort of keep that historic look to the property. So if I was voting, I would be supportive, and I don't feel it's going to be detrimental in any way to the neighbors.
Paul?
Well, I agree that overall, I think as you look at the property, you look at the building, the change that's being made here will be substantially not noticed, frankly, because it's set in and it's part of an overall structure that goes quite a length. So I don't see it overall as being substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Well, number one, I'm not wild about this design of this house. To have the garage kind of in the middle, that's not my taste, and we're not voting on that. But it does bother me that we're sort of excusing an addition in square footage that's going to be 300 square feet more than the max that's allowed. And it fits in with some of the concerns of citizens of this community, where things are getting larger and larger and larger, meaning homes and whatnot. I don't see this. I don't see this as being necessary. It's not something that they have to have. So I would probably vote no on this. So have you changed your opinion, Mr. Fenway?
Well, I started off saying I was conflicted because I like the project, I see what they're trying to do, but I don't think it's necessary, and I just think to already be at the max, and already over, not proposing any other change, maybe cut part of the garage off or something, I don't think I'd change my mind, no.
Okay. So, Paul, you can add. We can take a vote if you'd like, or you could ask for a continuance if you feel that you could make changes that would satisfy the no voters. That's up to you. How do you answer?
It's certainly a continuance, because just a straw vote, it looks like I'm under by one. Question about the coverage in particular. We are a non-conforming lot, by 31 square feet, I understand that. Any square footage addition would be one that is unacceptable?
I don't think that that's appropriate question now.
Okay.
We have to see what it is.
Sure.
Yeah, so,
And I think there are opportunities and versions of this project that can be reduced some.
Good.
But the volume on the interior is the priority, as Ms. Hovey noticed. The
Yeah,
family
it's
gathering
just,
spaces.
from my perspective, you're already over, so keep that in mind, that's all. Okay, so you've asked for a continuance?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Veach?
We need how quickly would you be able to put plans together?
Tomorrow.
That wasn't the right answer. There's no tomorrow.
As soon as the next hearing is available, we'd happily jump in.
Let me just see how many we already have on August 27th.
Yes, 6 maybe?
I think it might be 6, perhaps. Yeah, there's 6 on there.
So,
This should, well,
well,
it's up to you.
yeah, I hate to. If you can make it quick, we can do the 27th of August.
We can make it quick.
Okay, all right. So,
I will move to grant the request for continuance to our meeting of August 27th, 2027.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Veach votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
and I vote yes, okay. We'll see you then. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much.
All right. So on, Sarah, to 26-068, please.
Application number 26-068, Brian C. Donahue, care of William G. Litchfield Esquire, 330 Orleans Road, North Chatham, Mass. 02650. Owner of property located at 107 Taylor's Pond Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 4C, Block 64, Lot T14. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot via the construction of additions and a deck. The existing dwelling is non-conforming in that it is located 6 feet from the Coastal Conservancy District, top of bank. The proposed second-story deck will be non-conforming in that it will be located 16 feet from the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 1,592 square feet, 15.5%, and the proposed building coverage is 1,619 square feet, 15.8%, where 15% is the maximum allowed. The lot is non-conforming in that it contains 10,257 square feet of buildable upland where 20,000 square feet is required in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protected bylaw.
Mr. Litchfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of Brian and Maria Donahue, who are seated over to your left. I think the title may be just in Dr. Donohue's name, but she lets him live there regardless. So as a starting point, the second paperclip.
We have a small interruption. Thank you. Perhaps you'll start again, Mr. Litchfield.
Thank you. Certainly, sir. As a starting point, the second paper-clipped attachment is something that I talked with Sarah about earlier today and told her I would start by explaining. If you look at the first page, it says that we got the information back from the architect. Existing areas are shown and proposed areas are shown. And I had asked for gross floor area, and those were the numbers that I submitted with the petition. They aren't gross floor area, they're living area numbers. I will go into that when we go into the criteria, but I apologize for the error. I make enough on my own without accepting responsibility for this because I simply believed what I was told by the architect. Things happen. In any event, I apologize to the board for that, but the house itself will get to the changes. Sarah, would you be kind enough to bring up the site plan, please? The Donohue family has owned this property in South Chatham for a long time, and that is the lot. It is like, I won't say all lots in South Chatham, but like many lots in South Chatham, particularly in this neighborhood, which were created under prior zoning, it is non-conforming. In addition to that, the current house is too close under current zoning to the top of the coastal bank. A 50-foot setback is required, and we don't have it. The total lot size is 16,880 square feet. Not all of it is buildable upland either. But basically, the entire of the red line, or sort of vermilion lines, almost the entire house is within the 50-foot setback because it was built before that was allowed. What we are proposing to do is to add a conforming covered entryway, which is just to the north of that setback line. That is as shown there. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah's better at this than I am, and I appreciate your assistance in that regard. We are also proposing to create some additional living space, but it is completely on the existing footprint. But as you know, our bylaw says that if you're proposing to do something, even if it's on the existing footprint and it's within the setback, you have to come and visit with the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is why we're here. So the footprint of the house is only expanding by 27 square feet with that front portico. The footprint of the house, the balance of the house, however, is not changing. What is changing is a reconfiguration of the second floor involving the construction of the two sets of dormers that you see there, one to the left and one above the garage on the right, and some additional living space on the second floor as shown on the site plans which you have. So I'll go into the criteria unless there are questions about the site plans. The existing house, that's the rear view, the view from the water, which a former member, late member of this board who went kayaking to check things out might have seen, but there's not a lot of navigable water in that rear area anyway, so that could not be readily seen. But what you see involves the rebuilding in kind of the deck. The deck in the rear is in kind of rough shape, but that's not going to change, and there will be some additional living space on the second floor. So as to adequacy of site, including building coverage and setbacks, as I indicated, almost all of the nearby lots are non-conforming, as is the existing house to the Conservancy District. We have relatively low coverage of 9.4% based on the whole lot. And unlike many, however, we are conforming as to street and sideline setbacks. The site is clearly adequate for residential use, and it will remain so if you approve the special permit allowing for additional living space on the existing footprint without any further encroachment into the Coastal Conservancy District setback. Coverage, again, increases by just 27 square feet, and that's just for the entryway. As to compatibility of the size, on the third page of the handout, we have a mid-sized footprint, including the garage, of just a little bit under 1,600 square feet, living area of about 2,300 square feet. The slope of the lot, as well as the distance of the house from the street, tends to minimize its appearance anyway. If you approve the special permit, because it's not visible from the street, any change in size will not be readily visible. It will remain compatible. Coverage of the entire lot increases from 9.4 to 9.6%. The additional living area and gross floor area changes, again, are at the rear and completely on the current footprint. The dormers are, as of right, under both old and new statute. As to the extent of increase in nonconformity, we are nonconforming as to lot size, which is not changing, and as to the Coastal Conservancy District, which is also not changing. So there is no increase in nonconformity, and again, the living area and gross floor area changes are being accomplished on the existing footprint. As to suitability of site and impact on the natural environment, the site is certainly suitable for the existing house. Like many others in this neighborhood, and for that matter throughout the town, there's insufficient buildable upland under current regulations. As you know, we have entire neighborhoods, Little Beach, Eastwood Point, where lots have zero buildable upland. It's because they were built many, many years ago. I think you can find the site to be suitable for the additional living space without increasing the footprint, and thus without impact on the natural environment. There's minimal mitigation involved for the front portico. It's going to be placed down by the shed in the rear. The Conservation Commission asked when they reviewed the matter yesterday that we adjust the location of the mitigation, but not the amount of it. I think the chair will read, or someone will read, a comment letter from Conservation indicating that they've reviewed the plans and that can be conditioned. As scale, sighting, mass, views, and vistas, the existing structure is a Greek revival, again set back far from the street, some 70 feet back from the street. Given that distance, the tapering shape of the lot and the vegetation along the sidelines closer to the road, it's not readily visible as it now exists, but it's attractive to the degree that you can see it. It is, however, without impact on views and neighborhood views and vistas. The siding and the facade streetscape will be unchanged, again, from the dormers, except for the dormers, which are 80 feet back from the street. The added living area being constructed on the existing house. The siding and scale are in keeping with those of surrounding properties. There are no views and vistas involved. As to compatibility of use, it's residential and there's no change there. Adequacy of water and sewer, we have a Title V, town water and a Title V for 3 bedrooms. Mr. Grover has reviewed the floor plan. He has no concerns. It will remain a 3-bedroom dwelling. There's not a traffic flow and safety or noise problem or a lack of utilities. So as you know, the issue is whether the proposed construction of a small covered entryway and the additional living space to be built on or within the existing footprint is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than is the current structure on a non-conforming lot. The applicants have discussed their plans with their neighbors. They're unaware of any objections. And again, given the location, it's not readily visible, and the additional living area is even less visible than the house itself. It will remain an attractive house in traditional Greek Revival style with small L's on either side. The family, which consists of 6 children with the potential for grandchildren, makes the additional living area important, but it's to be achieved with your support by interior renovations and without changing the footprint, without moving closer to the Coastal Conservancy District, or without adding bedrooms. So in light of the criteria in the plans, particularly in this location, I think that you can find that proposed changes are not substantially more detrimental. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please indicate you want to join the conversation. I do not see anyone. I'll read the correspondence. First, we have from Chatham's Conservation Commission on August 13th. They write, The applicant submitted a notice of intent on July 30th, 2026. The project was heard by the Conservation Commission on August 12th, 2026. The project was continued to September 9, 2026, to prepare a draft order of conditions and make revisions requested by the Commission. The project will be conditioned to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Local Wetland Bylaw, Chapter 272, and regulations promulgated thereunder. And we have a note. This is from our new health agent, Andrew Grover. He writes on August 7th, based on the existing records and permits on file with the Health Department, the existing dwelling is approved as a 3-bedroom residence. The proposed renovations and additions maintain the approved 3-bedroom count. Additionally, the proposed additions do not encroach upon the required setbacks for the existing 3-bedroom septic system. Based on these findings, I find the aspects of the proposed project that fall within the Health Department's jurisdiction to be acceptable. That's the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone here today or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you want to join the conversation. I do not see anyone, so we'll have questions from the board. Dave Veach.
I have no questions.
Ed.
No questions.
Paul.
No questions.
Ginny.
I just want to confirm that, because we're just talking about building coverage in the previous hearing, the ad is wrong, correct? 15%. That's what you...
If I could respond, no, when I spoke to coverage, and because I don't know how much buildable upland there is for any lot other than our own, I think I always refer to it as of the entire lot. The coverage of buildable upland is as noted in the legal ad. But for comparison purposes, I refer to the coverage of the entire lot because I don't know how much buildable upland is next door without having an engineer or surveyor go and look.
Okay, so I just wanted to, so we're looking at 9.4 and to 9.6.
Of the entire lot, and the legal ad,
Is-
Sarah, can you give me the number? I don't have it in front of me.
15.5% to 15.8%.
Thank you.
Okay, so which one do we look at? I'm only asking because one is over and one isn't over.
The 15, under the curious aspects of our bylaw, if we were at 14.9 of buildable upland, we couldn't go to 15.001 without a variance, but because we are at 15.3, we can and are asking to go to 15.8. The only change in coverage is the 27 square feet portico on the front, but because that's within the floodplain or within 100 feet of the floodplain, it's not technically not buildable upland.
Okay. Regardless of the 9 or the 15, it's 27 square feet that you're
Correct.
asking for. Okay, thank you.
Steve.
Yeah, I think I was just going to try to verify that also, but the deck in the back is cantilevered. It's not touching the ground in any way.
That's not going to change, and that's not coverage.
So, right, and there's no further encroachment on the top of the bank because there's nothing being done there. It's all
The deck is, the plan state, as did the Conservation Commission filing, that it's to be replaced in kind, as is.
Right, so the only thing that's touching the ground is that front portico.
Correct.
And it's 27 feet. Okay.
Lee.
No questions.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I got lost.
Time to move on from questions.
It is? Well, in that case, I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
And Veach
vote
votes
yes.
yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
Okay, deliberations. Ed.
To me? Sorry, the plans, I believe it's inaccurate that saying that the back deck is cantilevered. There's actually,
There is a deck being rebuilt in kind, and then there's a additional second floor balcony deck that's being added.
the second floor deck is
Correct.
cantilevered. The first floor deck is.
First floor has posts. I'm sorry, Mr.
Cantilevered.
Ackley.
Okay.
Right.
All right. That was just the little side conversation we're having. I certainly don't believe this is substantially detrimental. It's building on the footprint, a modest increase to the front of the house, which will probably be appreciated on rainy days. So if I were voting, I wouldn't have an issue with the project.
Paul?
Yes, I think they've done everything they need to do to stay within the confines of the already problem areas. So I don't see any substantial detrimental impact on the neighborhood.
Jenny?
I agree with my colleagues. The reason I was asking Mr. Litchfield, frankly, about the building coverage, and I hope that Paul watches this particular hearing, because Paul, the gentleman that was here before, because this is an example of where, the way it looked when I read it, I was okay with that change because it was a modest change. It's 27 square feet, and there's no one in the back, the property, it's on the water. So this is just an example of where situationally, I'm not saying, no, we increased the building coverage. It's situational, it's property dependent. It's why we go and look at the site visits. And I think this is inappropriate, and it meets our criteria, in my opinion, not substantially more detrimental. I would support it.
Steve?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think this is a very modest ask. It's amazing how even just 27 square feet has an effect on the percentage of coverage by 0.3%. But I think it's a good project and probably much needed, and I don't think it's detrimental in any way.
Lee?
Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I think that it's a nice improvement to the property, and it meets our criteria, and not substantially detrimental.
Dave?
And I agree with all previous.
Okay.
Okay, well, I just would like to ask, so the portions of this that are seeking our approval are the entryway and the second floor balcony, is correct?
And the increase in sidewall in the rear, because it's within the,
Okay, all right, so that portion of the dormers in the back is on the back.
rear, the rear.
On the backside, okay. So the reason I asked, just in my own mind, it seems to me that this is a kind of a tight spot, and that our normal restrictions on summer exterior work. What are the thoughts, anybody? I don't really apply that, we want to apply that.
I have no problem with ignoring conditions. I mean, this is,
Let this one go with,
I think so.
including the all vehicles on site, or?
Well, that we should have, but as far as the work, I mean, get it done.
Okay. I generally like to do that when we can, but if you,
Anybody disagree with that?
No.
No, okay. Okay,
so then I will move approval of application 26-068 with the following condition: all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at a neighboring property with the permission of the property owner.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
That's a unanimous decision.
Thank you very much.
Also online, because they're made.
Okay. Okay, Sarah, we're on to 26-069, please.
Application number 26-069, Frederick W. Pike Revocable Trust and Susan C. Baldwin Pike Revocable Trust, care of Chiaramundi, 247 Coombs Road, Brunswick, Maine, 04011. Owners of property located at 284 Round Cove Road, also shown in the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 8J, Block 42, Lot C296. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a nonconforming dwelling on a nonconforming lot via the construction of a partial second-floor addition for an accessory dwelling unit. The existing dwelling is nonconforming in that it is located 35.6 feet from Montemessett Avenue. The proposed partial second-floor addition will be nonconforming, located 33.5 feet from Montemessett Avenue, where a 40-foot setback is required. The building coverage will remain 2,511 square feet, where 2,900 square feet is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 23,884 square feet in the R60 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protective bylaw.
So who do we have presenting this?
Hi, my name is Tim O'Reilly. I'm with Backyard ADUs. I'm joining here today on Teams, and I'm excited to represent the homeowners, the Pike family at 284 Round Cove Road.
And where are you located?
I am located in Massachusetts. I'm with Backyard ADUs. Our address on there, our headquarters is in Maine, but we operate in Maine, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire.
Okay. Well, you have the floor.
Wonderful. Well, this is a fantastic project. We build a lot of multi-generational living, and that is what we have today. The son is planning to move into the ADU above the garage so that he can stay on the property with his parents. And that will give them the peace of mind to be able to age in place in their home, and also give him a housing opportunity that is affordable. As we all know, that is a huge issue, especially on Cape. Why we are here today, we are proposing to increase our building height. We're proposing to be underneath the maximum height, but in order to do that, we're here today to ask for permission. We were introduced as, the house is pre-existing non-conforming relative to the setback. As part of our project, we will remove part of the non-conforming roof overhang of the garage. So we will be removing a section of that non-conformity, but then we will have a code required egress that will be in that side setback. I'm happy to go as into depth as you would like. The homeowner, as well as many neighbors, we got over half a dozen letters of support for this project. They're excited to have Grant stick around the neighborhood, as well as to see the Pike family be able to stay. I'm happy to go through all the stipulations, but we're also looking forward to your questions, to your feedback.
And go
on
through
this
the
project.
criteria, please.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I would like you to go through the criteria.
Wonderful. Let's start with adequacy of the size of the site. In this case, the unique thing about going up to a second story, we are not going to modify building coverage. So it will remain the same as that relates to the setback I mentioned earlier. We are going to be removing part of that non-conformity of the structure with the garage overhang. Compatibility of the size within the neighboring properties. We wrote in our neighborhood, and if you guys were able to visit the site and drove around, you'll see a lot of classic Cape Cod architecture with steep 12-12 roofs, a lot of 1.5-story houses. This is a unique house in that it has a lower sloped hip roof. We have mimicked that in our design, and so we are basically staying within, the height characteristics of the neighborhood. Even going to that second story. To the extent of a proposed increase in a non-conforming nature, like I mentioned, we are removing some of the setback non-conformity, but not all of it. And then our proposed height increase does not present any non-conformity. We will be below the maximum height. This one we're especially proud of here with this project. So sustainability of the site, we know that's incredibly important here. We already have an existing roof that we will be removing and adding. So we are not proposing any negative impacts to the natural environment. We're not impacting slopes, vegetations, wetlands, and we'll maintain the same amount of impervious coverage here as it relates to stormwater runoff. In terms of scale and sitting, the goal here is housing. A detached structure or even an expansion of the house would not fit on this lot. So in this case, we got creative. What is here? What could we use? How could we adapt? And that is how we've come up with this design to go up. This ADU is modest. It is a very simple 1-bedroom. Again, cost is really important. And, with the resources that we had, this is going to allow Grant to get into his own space. Compatibility with proposed of the neighborhood uses, we are not proposing any changes. This is a residential neighborhood. ADUs are by right in these zones. In terms of Title V, we've been working with the Board of Health and been speaking with them. We are going to follow the Title V and their guidance to make sure that the existing on-site sewage disposal system meets all of the state as well as Chatham's requirements. In terms of traffic flow and safety, all of the people who live on the property now will continue to live here. We're not adding more cars. This is absolutely not anything to do with short-term rentals or any negative impacts in that sense to the neighborhood. Noise and litter, again, same amount of people living here, same amount of trash disposal, and that storage for those cans will still exist in the garage. In terms of the adequacy of utilities and public services, this will all be permitted through the building department with all of the required plumbing, building, and electrical codes, as well as HERS and energy efficiency. The visual impact of the neighborhood, all half a dozen letters of support is a great sign here. The neighborhood is looking forward to, like I've mentioned, this project and keeping a family here in Chatham. And we are not in the floodplain, so the last criteria does not apply to us. But like I mentioned, we are not proposing to add more impervious surface or anything that would be detrimental to the surrounding. I hope that answers and addresses all of the criteria. If you have more questions, I would love to hear them.
Okay, thank you. So, is there anyone here today or in Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please indicate you wish to join the conversation. Don't see anyone. I'll read the correspondence. Now, you mentioned there were half a dozen letters in favor. We only received 2. I just want to tell you that, because you mentioned half a dozen. 2.
We submitted 2 PDFs. One of the PDFs had 5 letters attached to it, and one of them had 1 letter. I'd be happy to share my screen. It could have also been a mix-up. But here, let me put this up here.
Yeah, I'm going to read the 2 we have, okay?
Okay.
So first off, we have a note from Andrew Grover. He, again, is our new health agent. On August 7th, based on the existing records and permits on file with the Health Department, the existing dwelling is approved as a 3-bedroom residence. The proposed ADU adds 1 bedroom. It is my understanding that the applicants plan to remove 1 bedroom from the main dwelling in order to maintain a total of 3 bedrooms. The Health Department will require existing floor plans of the main dwelling illustrating the removal of the 1 bedroom. The current Health Department definition of a bedroom requires a 6-foot cased opening in order to eliminate a bedroom in a renovation project. Regarding the on-site septic, the applicants are proposing to install a second septic system in series with the existing septic tank as required by Title V for ADUs, thereby complying with the Title V and the local subsurface sewage regulations. Based on these findings, I find the aspects of the proposed project that fall within the Health Department's jurisdiction to be acceptable, provided that existing floor plans are submitted to the Health Department at the time the applicant submits for a septic permit, illustrating compliance with 3 bedrooms total for the site. Then we have a letter. This is from Richard Heinz, H-E-N-T-Z, 344 Deer Meadow Lane. And it's handwritten, so sometimes I have trouble with this, but on August 2nd, dear sirs, I am opposed to application number such. This is a non-conforming dwelling on a non-conforming lot, and I am opposed to any additional building on this lot. Thank you for notifying me, Richard Heinz. And then we have a letter. This is from Robert Werthshafter, and it might have been Werthshafter. At any rate, on August 7th, we are the closest abutters to the proposed ADU. We strongly support the planned addition, request that the ZBA approve the addition as submitted. Given that the planned addition does not extend the existing nonconformity and the Pikes by right ability to add an ADU, we hope that this will be quickly resolved. And that was from not only Mr. Wirtschafter, but also Angela Sorrentino, and they're at 85 Monomescent Way. Did I say that right? Probably not. Yeah, close enough. All right. All right. Then we have a note. This is from Thomas Coughlin and Randy Fusaro. They're at 283 Round Cove Road. They write on July 29th. We're writing in regard to this. We received the notice and we support the non-conforming second floor addition for an accessory dwelling unit at this residence. And that is the extent of the correspondence. Is there anyone on Microsoft Teams or here today that would like to speak either against this or has a specific question? If so, please indicate you wish to join the correspondence or conversation. Don't see anybody, so we'll have questions from the board. Paul?
I have no questions.
Jenny?
I do have a question. Maybe this is for Jay, the building commissioner, or accessory dwelling units, can they have cooking, sink, and sleeping?
Yes, it's a complete dwelling unit.
Okay, all right. Unlike, it doesn't have to meet the guest house requirements. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Steve?
I have no questions.
No questions.
No questions.
A couple questions. The existing fireplace in the house, is that a
Yep.
working fireplace?
It is, yep.
And is that going to be extended, the height extended? It seems to me that there may be an issue with smoke and the ADU and how close it is to that structure up above.
Absolutely. So we'll need to meet all fire separation requirements for our new structure. And that will be based on, distance, location, and materials. So that chimney will be somewhat extended to make sure that it meets all those separation requirements.
Okay. And the siding on the ADU, it looks like that's a clapboard siding, and then I don't remember when I went out to the house, is the existing house shingle siding, and then it looks like you're changing to clapboard for the ADU addition?
Yes, so let's look at this together. So yeah, our existing house is painted. It is painted shakes. So we are using clapboards here, but we have color matched to the best of our ability using, our current palette of materials with, an older house. So we'll basically be keeping, the character and kind here in terms of the color and aesthetic here. And that's across both the siding, the door trim, the window trim for our new addition.
Okay, thank you. No.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. When I was out there, there was the applicants, fortunately, were there, and two things came up. The plans submitted gave us two choices for the stairway, one to the right of the garage and one on the back. Which is it going to be?
So the staircase you're showing here with the screen to the front, this staircase is going down to the existing driveway and parking. This is what makes sense from a functional standpoint. So this is it.
So it's on the right side of, as I'm looking at the side. Okay.
And
Secondly,
just to clarify, the
the applicant
staircase
indicated to me,
is
this goes with Steve's question, indicated to me there wasn't going to be no kitchen or any cooking. Do you believe that's correct?
So a unique feature here, we have two pieces here. The zoning bylaw, like an ADU, to your point earlier, hey, does it have its own cooking facility? And an accessory dwelling unit is allowed to have a full kitchen, a full bathroom, and a place to sleep, a bedroom. In these circumstances, the homeowner does not need that. He basically does not do a lot of cooking. He could suffice with, a toaster oven. He already lives at the property. He shares meals with his parents, and the kitchen is there. So it was his request not to have all of those facilities. You'll see a note on here, required for occupancy. So we'll work with the building department to make sure, that we have all the code required stuff, and two, everything that will work for the homeowner. Does that answer your question?
I think so. Jay?
In order for this to be considered an ADU, it would need to be a standalone dwelling unit, and so it would need its own kitchen.
It would.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and so we'll work, if he doesn't, we could put in a cooktop, if that works. If you want to see a cooktop with an oven, we could do that too. He doesn't need it. But yeah, what's here in front of you is an ADU. It has the full bedroom, it has the full bathroom, and we have a full cooking facility here.
So Jay, if they don't put in the full cooking, what difference does it make?
If it doesn't meet the criteria of a dwelling unit, it can't be an ADU.
I get
So
you.
then
It would have to be some sort of.
something other than an ADU. It
Addition
would just be an addition to the house.
Okay. Well, I guess the applicant has to make up their mind, because we can't approve it as an ADU if it's not going to be an ADU. So I think,
We'll
It's-
have a cooktop in there.
well,
So,
excuse me, I'm talking. So it's too bad you're not here. This is a good example of when we have folks that make their presentation at a distance, because if you were here, you could discuss with the applicant, who I think, yeah, there you are, hi, okay, could discuss with the applicant exactly what they wanted. Did you want to go up to the microphone and speak to this at all? Yes, I did. Yeah, go ahead. And just for the record, identify yourself, okay?
My name is Susan Pike. I live
Okay.
at 284 Round Cove Road.
So how would you like to proceed on this?
Well, Tim and I did talk about this. There's room to put a regular stove in, but my son is a bachelor. He doesn't really cook. He eats his meals with us. But Tim was adamant about making sure there was room to put an actual stove if necessary.
But room as opposed to actual having it, correct, Jay? Just because there's room, that doesn't make it an ADU.
Correct, yeah, we'd want to see a stove on the final inspection.
I see.
We would have no problem with putting a stove in.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, I know it's an additional expense, and that's not a great thing for you, correct?
It's a modest expense, putting a stove.
Okay.
We were
So,
going to put a countertop cook and a convection device, but an oven would serve just as well.
okay. So do you want us to go ahead with the ADU on the basis you will be putting in a kitchen?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. I think we got that straightened out. I'm not too sure.
I just get it clear, I'm a little confused. So Sarah, the ADU is it part of our special permit process here, or is it the use?
It was not. It was the encroachment into the setback for the staircase and the increase in height within the setback.
Right.
The ADU is
It's not.
by right
It's a by
feature
right.
now, but ADUs are required to have sleeping, sanitary, and cooking facilities.
Right.
So if they were to remove one of those items, like the building commissioner had said, then the board would be looking at the whole project and all of its different aspects. But the ADU is a protected use.
Okay. So Jay, was that enough for you, what the applicant said about putting in the kitchen?
Yeah, they're going to have to pull a building permit anyway, so that can be worked out at that point in time.
Okay, fine, thank you. Okay, so much for that. I think we have to go on to deliberations.
So I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
Okay,
Dave votes yes.
deliberations. Steve?
Okay, well, I think this is a good project. It's not encroaching any further on the setbacks. It's not getting any close to either one of the streets. It's providing some living quarters for a family member. I don't see any issues with this.
Yeah, I agree. I think not increasing the building coverage meets our criteria, and solving a problem of someone having a place to live and taking care of their parents.
We need all the ADUs we can get, so I'm happy to see that happen. And certainly what they're proposing here is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood and meets all our criteria. Happy to support it.
Ed?
As you know, I've always been a supporter of housing, and we need more housing. My concern here is architecturally, and this would go to number 5, the siting and massing, the visual character. To me, this looks like a shed is being dropped on top of this ranch. And I'm not sure that's really what, I'm not sure the applicant or the neighbors understand the visual character of this. It's using a different material on the siding, 2 small little windows. It just, architecturally, it doesn't look great to me, and I'm just concerned about what people are going to think of it and think of ADUs after this is built. But I am not voting, and that's just sort of my opinion.
Paul?
Well, hopefully they will give some consideration to what Ed has just suggested. I frankly am not, I don't have the expertise that Ed does in looking at this particular application. I think perhaps, given the background of the people involved, the colors will be good, but in terms of the appearance from the outside, I don't have the expertise that Ed does, but, and I would defer by saying I think that it's given support by the neighbors, at least so far, so I would be inclined to say it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood.
Jenny?
Yeah, I agree with what Paul said and my other colleagues. I think that the driving importance here is the use of it. And I mean, Ed, you do have the expertise, and I value that insight, and you're probably right. But I think the use is very important, and meets our criteria, and I could support it.
Well, I agree with Ed. I don't think this is a plus in any way to the neighborhood as far as compatibility. But I'm not too sure if the request would include that. Does that?
The use is not part of the request.
But the appearance. And that's what Ed and I are talking about. It's not compatible, no matter what it is not compatible with the neighborhood.
That is one of the considerations that the board would look at under their criteria.
Right, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I could say that, and I do. So, I don't know what the alternative might be, but I also might be the only no vote. So, would you like us to go ahead with a vote?
May I respond to some of your concerns?
No, I don't think so, thank you. Would you like us to take a vote or not?
Can I clarify that?
Okay, I'll give you what you could request. You could say, okay, remember, 2 noes, you lose, okay? So you have to get 4 yeses. And
5 voting members, and we're hearing 1 opposition, is that correct?
That's right. So the voters are Mr. Veach, Paul, myself, Jenny, and Lee. So if you think back, Ed is not a voter today. So you can roll the dice if you like, or you can ask for a continuance, but I'll tell you what, here's what I'll do. I'll take a straw vote. Would you like that?
Yeah, changing siding to match the existing siding is probably about $15,000. That is a significant expense. That is something that would make this project not viable. I know that's probably not the purview of this board, is to think about cost.
Right.
It is about character.
So would you like me to take a straw vote or no? Is the question.
I think we should vote the necessity for this housing, for this family.
I'll take a straw
where we are
vote.
right now in the year. Yeah, is
Dave
the-
Veach, are you in favor or not?
I'm in favor.
Paul?
I'm in favor.
Ginny?
I'm in favor.
Lee?
I'm in favor.
And so I would be against, so you would be successful because you get 4 yeses and 1 no. So we'll go on to take a real vote. Dave?
I will move, excuse me, I'll move approval of application number 26-069 with, I think, as far as conditions go, I don't know what the thoughts are. I would say all construction activity and vehicles should be contained on site or at a neighboring property permission of property owner. And then I think I would talk, between June 30th and Labor Day, no work should be permitted on weekends and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
Veach votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And I vote no. You are successful. The vote was 4 in favor, 1 against.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we'll take a 5-minute break before we go on. Mark? Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. So we're on to, we have three submitted by the same applicant, and we're going to do them all as a one, okay? So it's 26-046, 26-047, and 26-048. All has to do with Chatham Max Holdings. Sarah?
Application number 26-046, Chatham Max Holdings, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 104 Kroll Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13F, Block 25, Lot 23. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family dwelling in a GB3 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit. The proposed lot coverage is 3,171 square feet, 19.3%, where 60% is the maximum allowed. The lot is conforming with 16,465 square feet, where 10,000 square feet is required in the GB3 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, 26, and 8D2B of the protective bylaw. This was continued from June 25th, 2026. Application number 26-047, Chatham Max Holdings, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 114 Kroll Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13F, Block 25, Lot 24. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family dwelling in a GB3 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit. The proposed lot coverage is 9,459 square feet, 46.1%, where 60% is the maximum allowed. The lot is conforming with 17,562 square feet, where 10,000 square feet is required in the GB3 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, 26, and 8D2B of the protective bylaw. This was continued from June 25th, 2026. The application number 26-048, Chatham Max Holdings, care of William F. Riley Esquire, P.O. Box 707, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 124 Kroll Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 13F, Block 25, Lot 8. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family dwelling in a GB3 zone, which requires the grant of a special permit. The proposed lot coverage is 3,524 square feet, 19.2%, where 60% is the maximum allowed. The lot is conforming with 18,393 square feet, where 10,000 square feet is required in the GB3 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Sections 3C, 4C, 26, and 8D2B of the protective bylaw. This was continued from June 25th, 2026.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of Chatham Max. The principal of the LLC, Ron Rudnick, is present with me. We had a pretty thorough discussion, I think, at our last meeting, and we were sent away with the suggestion we should, consult with the town or do further review of other possible uses of the property. And the thought came to me after we had that meeting that there is simply no marketplace for commercial construction in this area. The last time a commercial building was built was in 2002. And that was in addition to, there was already a previous existing building on that lot that was built in 1995. And those two properties have been on the market, that lot with two buildings, has been for sale for about 5 or 6 years. So there's simply no market for commercial construction. And of course, that's what the owners of this property found. They tried to rent the building that had existed there. They tried to do that for several years without success. And so the way our conversation ended last time, there was perhaps we should request additional buildings. Mr. Acton thought we should do a 40B, but we think that adding 3 houses, which is something you've done previously on Crowell Road in this section, is the most appropriate way, and is certainly not substantially more detrimental. I mean, you approved 3 buildings, residential buildings, at what is now called Hydrangea Lane. Kendrick Harvest Way, the first 3 houses on the way in are in our GB3 zone. They were approved. Recently, 3 Crowell Road was approved as a single-family house in the GB3 zone. So this board, as much as the marketplace, has created the mixed residential commercial uses. And the marketplace has no interest in these properties for commercial use. So we believe that it's appropriate to grant the special permits, in this case, for these buildings. There's correspondence from 2 real estate brokers, one who specializes in commercial, another one who's very, very familiar with the Chatham market. Both of them say there's no real market for this. I mean, when you go up and down the road, you know, other than those 2 buildings that aren't used for anything, as far as I can tell, the most recent construction was probably my office building in 1988. You know, there's simply no market there. So it's appropriate and certainly not substantially more detrimental to allow the 3 residential structures that Ron has provided. The lots are larger here than they were at Hydrangea Lane. So there's more a yard area for each of the properties. So the fact that the applicant doesn't want to do 40B, doesn't want to build 4 houses there, something for you to consider. But the fact that he doesn't want to build 4 houses there does not mean that 3 houses are substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing structure. And so Mr. Rudnick would like to address you, but I think that the important thing is, where is the harm, where is the detriment to granting this special permit? And I would suggest that whatever your ideas are for the development on this property, this idea is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, which is your criteria. So Mr. Rudnick will address you now.
Good afternoon. My name is Ronald Rudnick. When we left the meeting, you people wanted me to look at the commercial and look at the houses. These 3 houses that we're proposing are small, 3-bedroom houses. So my name is Ronald Rudnick. The name of my company is GRS Property Management, Lighthouse Realty. I've been developing in the town of Chatham for more than 50 years. I came here when I was 25 years old. I'll be 76 this weekend. I want to talk about the concerns of the property the last time I was here. You asked me to review the properties, commercial properties in the area, as well as building McMansions. I looked into both of these, and I also spoke with Sarah Clark, the building inspector, the town planner, and I met with 2 select people on your concerns. I would like to speak about what I've done in the town of Chatham, because I think I've done more commercial property than anybody, and so be an expert of locations, and I do more studies than anybody. I have schools come in their tourism, they do counters, county parking areas, what walks in front of which traffic areas, and I have many, many studies that I have held with schools that have tourism. They come in with, I had 22 kids from Texas Tech come in and do the counts and the amounts, so I understood which were the best places to do commercial area. I understood that the right-hand side coming into Route 28 is the right side. The left side is not as important. I know how many cars come in. I know how many cars are parked at our parking lot. I know what days are rainy days and cloudy days. I took upon myself to understand the commercial. This area is just not right for commercial. So I just wanted to tell the developments, I've done a lot of projects. I'm sure that anyone has done more than me. I don't know anybody who is. I know I'm not the smartest person in this room, but I do believe I know more about real estate and how to improve the town. My goal has always been to service the more modest end of housing spectrum. Here are the few properties I have developed here. I've done Oyster Pond condominiums, the largest open space development in the town of Chatham. I did the Horn cottages, the 30 units and the 20 cottages and the townhouses. I did the Orpheum Theater, which at first has a movie theater, and I changed it to CVS, and then back to a movie theater. After Naomi Turner came to me and asked me to give her a year to fundraise because of her, we now need a movie theater. I had another person who wanted to put an Italian space in there, restaurant. But I thought the movie theater was a better fit for the town of Chatham. So big thanks to Naomi Turner for that. I also developed a colonial building, 643, 647, 595 Main Street, all a Highway Square, all a Bursar's Byway. We also converted the Southwestern to Dunkin' Donuts. I include the old Friendly building. I converted it to Del Mar Restaurant. I did 1455 Main Street, I did 1221 and 1223 Main Street. So I have a lot of experience. I don't know anybody has more of dealing with commercial properties in the town of Chatham. All the examples represent that under the town's average cost of a home has gone to $1.3 million. You're gonna hand that up to them? Okay. And I'm going to go around a circle a little bit and come in, because I want to bring up something that I know how to resolve, a housing problem that we have in our community to try to keep our local families, our fishermen, kids to stay in the town. The number one issue is the cost of our land. Our land is so expensive. You take one lot, $1 million. Maybe you might get 2 houses on it. But if we go with flexible zoning, and if anybody knows what I did at Seacrest, I know some people know what I did at Seacrest, 10 gorgeous houses, I have pictures here, and we divide $1 million, the land cost is only $100,000 per. You build the same house for $400,000 on Shore Road, okay, it's gonna be $5 million, okay? Same cost to put it on inside. So we can do it if we want to. I've been hearing it for years, people coming to me, Ron, come to a meeting, we want you to help us deal with the housing, okay? Nobody's done more housing for projects for the town people in Chatham than me. Dealing with apartments, the commercial places, the fishermen, all right? But I've been hearing it years, but nobody does anything. So I met with Jay, I met with Sarah. I say that we get back to flexible zoning, open it up, and if you've got, is anybody here who's seen Seacrest Village? I built it, okay? People love it. And the whole thing is pride of ownership. Every young family wants to own a home. They don't want to be in a 40B. They don't want to be in a townhouse. They think if we can deliver a home for $600,000, brand new, I can do it. I know I can do it. So there's better land usage and more affordable homes prices. My wish of Chatham is to return to flexible zoning and also allow our workforce house to be built to help businessmen and restaurants in our town. The big crowds of the people of Chatham to host during the summer season. I know everyone on the board of Chatham, as much as I do, love it. I live here, you live here. We only want to do what's best for Chatham. Meantime, I asked the board to approve the 3 houses. It's a good project, it's well thought out. I got to move on to try to work on this other project. They're not big houses, they're only 3-bedroom houses. I pledge with myself, bet on me, I will get it done. Thank you.
That would be our presentation. Unless you want me to go through the criteria again.
I don't think so. Okay, I'll read the new correspondence we've received since the last time.
All of the letters in every file are the same. I was just letting the chair know that every file,
Okay.
application 46, 47, and 48 all have the same letters in the file, so we're only going to read them once.
Good idea.
I'm going to sit down, right?
So this was dated August 10th. As residents of Hydrangea Lane, who live very near to 104 Cole and so forth, we appreciate the opportunity to provide input. We believe the best use for the property is to develop it consistently with the current character of that village neighborhood, which is residential. The proposed residential housing plan is consistent with the area and maintains complementary architectural characteristics with nearby homes on Crowell Road, Hydrangea Lane, Kendrick Harvest Way. Adding additional residential properties in conjunction with the existing businesses is not only in keeping with, but will be beneficial to the neighborhood. Although 104 Crowell is currently zoned for general business use, additional businesses in the immediate area could potentially introduce more traffic, noise, public safety concerns. Anyone who has driven down Crowell Road to Crowell Road and Main Street intersection this summer can certainly appreciate the significant added congestion and noise more business use would create along that last half mile. Thank you for taking the time to hear our concerns. We appreciate you have many factors to consider when evaluating development opportunities, and we appreciate the opportunity. This was signed by Julian Matthew Gallinger, Tracy Passanetti, and Nancy and Larry Rowe. Then on August 13th, we received a note from Tommy Doan. I believe that what the applicant is asking for should be granted. The applicant has shown with successful development of Seacrest that this type of development works and is a benefit to Chatham. Please vote favorably for these applications. And then we have a letter from all kinds of folks who live on Kendrick Harvest Way. Gary and Francis Ferguson, Michael and Paula Hayek, no, not Jay, Hayek, Sheila Jamison, Paul and Karen Kafrafotis, Tracy Mullen, Sarah Mullins and Chuck Ramsey, Ronald and Carolyn Parker, Valerie Santulo. They all write, as residents and property owners, we appreciate the opportunity to provide input. From our perspective, the practical use for the property is to develop it consistently with the current neighborhood of the village neighborhood. The proposed residential housing plan is aesthetically consistent with our area and maintains complementary architectural characteristics with nearby homes on Crowell Road, Hydrangea Lane, and Kendrick Harvest Way. Introducing new residential properties in conjunction with existing businesses is beneficial to our area. Although 104 Crowell is currently zoned for general business, additional businesses in the immediate area could potentially introduce traffic, public safety concerns, and noise. We understand and respect the various factors under consideration by the ZBA surrounding this matter, and thank you for welcoming our input. Then we have a letter dated July 9th from Brad Kuritz, Kuhrtz, Commercial Realty Advisors. I'm not too sure what his address is. Where's it, Hyannis?
I believe it's Hyannis.
Okay, so this is a letter from an individual, West Main Street in Hyannis. I'm not too sure.
He's a commercial realtor.
Yeah.
The letter was written in response to a request by us.
I'll read the letters. Properties are a good candidate for change of use. A commercial office building for many years, 104 Crowell, was well suited to the needs of small business owners looking to locate within the village. Market conditions have changed, however, and the demand for office space has waned in the years following COVID, while the demand for housing and residential properties continues to climb, especially within affluent communities. That's not to say that the commercial office space market has collapsed. However, it lags well behind prime retail space and industrial contractor bays, neither of which are appropriate for Crowell Road. There are already a number of commercial office space properties in town which easily meet the demands for tenants. Munson Meeting, Nickerson Corners, Village Landing, the Cornfields, and the Marketplace, just to name a few, plus many single offices here and there. There are many more offices in town than we have demand for. When they come up for a lease, they usually don't get filled quickly. Change of use would not only be helpful to the owner, but it would also serve as a benefit to the town of Chatham from a revenue standpoint. As mentioned above, commercial market conditions are keeping these properties from reaching their full value. A change of use will allow the owner to make the necessary investment to realize that potential and create a mutually beneficial situation for both property owner and town. Please feel free to contact me. I have, I have dedicated my expertise to the commercial real estate market on Cape Cod, with a particular focus on mid and lower Cape. I have a note from Ian Burt, who, he must be the gentleman that runs Branches Grill and Cafe, 155 Kroll. I've been the owner of Branches for 9 years. I'm writing in support of Mr. Rudnick's project. I believe residential homes in that space would be more beneficial than commercial property. There are numerous commercial properties in the area, and I feel there's more of a need for residential for the community. Mr. Rudnick has done so much in the town of Chatham to improve the appearance and help the economy of the local people. The town of Chatham needs more housing to support the businesses. Then we have a note from Tracy Passanelli, 15 Hydrangea Lane, but I think we already had something from Hydrangea Lane, so I'm not going to read another letter. And we have a letter which is too long from Tony Guffrey and Alfred Schofield. It's more than our appropriate. I'll read the first paragraph. I'm writing on behalf of the Guffrey Schofield Group as real estate professionals with deep active experience in the Chatham market to advocate for the redevelopment of this Kroll Road parcel into three, blah, blah, blah. In our professional opinion, three single-family residential is undeniably the highest and best use of the land, a more appropriate direction for the site than the introduction of a new commercial space. And that's it. So I should ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak that didn't speak in the past in relation to the new correspondence that we have received. I could take either a plus comment or a minus comment, whatever you like. That gentleman with his hand up. That's you.
Say what? I didn't know if there's anybody behind me. Jeff Dykens, 1745 Main Street, West Chatham. You've got Hydrangea Lane. You've got the new house down at the south end of Kroll Road. You have Kendrick Harvest. You've all approved those residential developments on Kroll Road, off Kroll Road, some of which had GB3 to start. So I think it's not inappropriate for Ron to come to the board and ask for a change of use from GB3 to residential. He'll do an excellent job, I'm sure, in its development. So I would support, as an investor, as a citizen, I support his effort. I also wanted to emphasize Ron's point about flexible zoning. And he's spot on with respect to how successful Seacrest and John Gilpin have been. Given the right zoning, we could have more attractive, attainable ownership housing in town. Now, it's going to take a stretch. It's going to take some work with the planning board, et cetera, but going forward, I think the town has been screaming for attractive, attainable ownership housing. And the only way we can possibly pull it off in town is to increase density and have folks, have smaller lots or flexible zoning so that we can have multiple homes on a lot or lots. So I think it's an excellent point. He's done it successfully in the past, and I think we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot with respect to having the opportunity for attainable, flexible zoning. Flexible zoning that would allow attainable housing. So in support.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Lady in the second row.
Good afternoon. My name is Betsy Bray. I'm at 154 Kroll Road, Unit C. A letter was read from me regarding this project at the last meeting, but today I'm here in person. I want to strongly reiterate my opposition to converting this property from commercial use to residential development. Chatham has a very limited commercial land. Once we give it up, we'll never get it back. This is not simply about one project, it's about the long-term future of our town. We need places for businesses, essential services, and jobs, and we must protect the remaining limited commercial areas. This Kroll Road property should remain commercial. I urge the town not to make a permanent decision that Chatham may deeply regret in the future. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. I still think this is an inappropriate space for these houses. And I guess my question is, these houses are going to be $600,000 each? Was that said earlier? Was not said? Okay, I guess the other aspect of it, I don't like the GB3 zone kind of abusing the commercial rules for residential homes where there's like much greater lot coverage, where if this was an R20, these houses would not be allowed to be built. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, now I don't see anybody on Microsoft Teams. Do you, Sarah?
If I could,
Okay.
if I could rebut a little bit. I think the idea of leaving the property commercial, all it would mean is there would be no development there at all. One of the things that drove a lot of development back in the 80s was our ability to put residential on top of commercial spaces. And the difficulty that's resulted from that was we had a lot of vacant commercial spaces. In fact, several of the developers came back and the zoning board allowed them to put residential on the first floor as well. So I understand the concerns, but there's no demand. All the demand for commercial space is along the Route 28 corridor and Main Street. There's simply no demand for commercial uses on Crowell Road. Thank you.
So, questions from the board in relation to our two speakers or anything? Remember what they're asking for, and so there's nothing that's off the grid as far as a question. So Dave Veach.
I don't think that I have questions,
Okay.
additional questions. I'll have comments.
Okay. Ed?
I as well, I have comments, but no real questions regarding the proposal at this point.
No, but we should hear the comments as well because we can't rebut.
Please.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
There's no such thing as a point of order in here. I don't want any more talk. You understand? Nothing. Ed, finish what you're saying.
I just, no questions. I can make my comments during deliberations.
Okay. Paul?
I guess my question would be, and Ron can address this, or Bill, depending upon which is more appropriate, but as I recall, initially your thoughts with respect to this property was that you wanted to put in workforce housing.
Correct.
And what you ran into is that was going to be an obstacle that you had to overcome because it would require certain requirements with respect to space that you hadn't anticipated.
Well, it wasn't a question of not anticipating it. When Ron came to me with this project and he wanted to do a dormitory, I pointed out the 3,000 square foot requirement for each bed, which makes the project uneconomical. So we'd only be entitled to have 28 beds. And Mr. Rudnick's experience is that, that number can't generate enough money to pay for the construction of the dormitory. So because the way the workforce housing process works, and we have experience with the Stone Horse in Harwich, in which Ron built 2 new buildings. Each building houses
90 rooms.
90 people, and then Ron contracted with Chatham Bars Inn, Stop and Shop, and other employers to provide space for their employees. And So it wasn't a question of having to deal with the J1 students or the HB1, HB2, excuse me, people from overseas who wouldn't really be able to guarantee the payment. So that's an economic model that works. So on the former Stonehorse property, there are 180 workers living there. You know, two to a room, a bathroom for each 2 rooms, kitchen facilities, gathering spaces. I mean, you know, so those are the factors that militate against a 28-bed dormitory in today's age.
So does it have anything to do with our zoning?
Yes.
Yes, because
And also, if we can't do flexible yet, that's what I want to work on.
All right.
Okay,
Ron, the reason it has to do with our zoning is the requirement for 3,200 or 3,000 square feet of land area for each bed.
All right.
You know, no other town has a requirement similar to that.
All right.
So these are things that were added back in the 1960s or early 1970s. And, you know, very similar to the hotel requirements, 3,500 square feet of land area for each room. There isn't a single hotel that's conforming in this town now because none of them have 3,500 square feet of area for each room. And so it's the land area requirement that makes it uneconomic.
All right.
And we could build a building here that Ron could make economically viable if we didn't have to meet the land area requirement. And, you know, presumably, this board could grant a variance, freeing us from the land area requirement. But
Well,
they're not well known for granting variance.
That brings me to that question, because there have been some changes in the law at the state level with respect to the question of variances and what the standards are for variances and how they should be applied, which have taken place just since July 1st.
Correct.
So I guess my question would be, do you think you could pursue your original concept with respect to workforce housing by applying for a variance here as opposed to a special permit for residential use?
Well, the simple answer is theoretically, yes, we could. The difficulty is, it would be the first variance request under the new statute. We would have to develop a new site plan, design a new building, and then come back and request a variance. And with all due respect, this board is not known for granting variances easily. And so that militates against spending a considerable sum of money to design the building without having some indication that the town and the zoning board are going to support it.
may I speak?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, sir. I have 2 sites that I put under agreement subject to getting approval for workforce housing and flexible. So I'm working on that now. And hopefully we can get some changes in our zoning. We haven't had changes. I don't know when's the last time we had a change. I don't know. Back in Margot Fed days, right? Yeah. So we have to update our plan, whole thing, but I'm just interested in 2 things. I'm interested in trying to get people to work here and have a place to stay and go home with some money, and that's the workforce housing. For all the years I've been here, and I'm sure all of you guys also, is when do they have to close stores or restaurants 1 or 2 days a week because they don't have enough people to service the clientele? That's a problem because there's no places for kids to stay. Secondly, I'm more interested in trying to get young families to stay in Chatham. And there's no other way other than doing something like flexible, I don't know what you want to call it, but something like flexible zoning, where we're able to build a house on property that they feel home ownership and pride. Just can't do it with the prices of the thing unless we can come up with some way of doing something called flexible zoning. And I've done it. I did it, and it worked beautifully, and it came out gorgeous. Seacrest Village, John Gilpin Lane, I did all that there. So, I mean, I'm trying to move on with this one here so I can keep moving on. I appreciate, okay, I love Chatham as much as you guys do. I live here, my wife lives here, I've been here 50 years. So whatever I think is going to be done right, I will do it right.
Well, I have no doubt but what that is true, and that Seacrest has been very successful, and that there may well be a good chance that you could, I can only speak for myself, but that you could progress with your workforce housing at this location on a variance basis, given the changes in the law. But I understand that that's not a condition of your purchase agreement. It is a condition of some purchase agreements you have coming up, but
Correct, sir.
not on this one.
Correct, sir.
So you're already into it for the 1.3, I think you said before.
Plus a couple $100,000 in soft costs.
Right. So I understand that concept. The other area that I'll mention is the question of attainable or affordable housing, because we talked about it a little bit the last time around, and the question of Stepping Stones Road and the small area that they have to work with there. I'm not trying to force you into something that you don't want to do, but I was questioning what your thoughts are as to whether that's a possible solution to your problem.
All right, the difficulty with that is the density that would require a variance from you from the area requirements, because minimum lot size for a special permit, well, in the GB3 zone is 10,000 square feet. And and that wouldn't allow enough houses to be built to create a real neighborhood and also be saleable in a manner that would generate a profit. So we're stuck with the land cost here. And we think we can recoup our land costs and make some money on the houses. And that will enable Ron to move on to these other properties he's identified and has under agreement, where we will be able to do either workforce housing or dormitory coming in with, because it's will be subject to approval. We can do, rough designs and come in and put the matter before you and request a variance for those locations, which, by the way, I also think are more appropriate for the kind of housing we're talking about.
Well, that may be the case, and obviously, we can't act on a variance if we're not requesting one. We have to go with what people bring to us, either an up or down. Part of the hesitation, I think, with respect to this request is that this seems to be property which, in terms of location and what would need to be done to it, is potentially very good for both workforce housing and for affordable or attainable housing.
But the house in this area and the neighborhood across the street and the neighborhood on the side is lots, okay? And I don't want to be one changing the neighborhood. This fits the neighborhood, these three. I spent a lot of time in putting this program together. And I didn't write any of these letters. I didn't even know these neighbors that wrote. I never met any of them. I never made a phone call, okay? They want to keep it residential. I have two places in Chatham which be terrific to do both affordable workforce housing and doing flexible. And I'm working on those right now.
Okay, thank you for your help.
Well, Mr. Rudnick, I'm so glad to hear that your first desire was, you said, the dormitory workforce housing. I had the same question as Paul. Is there a way through this with the leniency in the new zoning to a variance?
Not on this site, because the
Why?
neighbors don't want it. Because those neighbors want single-family houses, because all the ones that have been done,
Yeah.
been single-family houses. I have two sites that the neighbors won't mind, they're more in the commercial area. This is swung to residential, this, almost the whole street.
Well,
So-
the neighbors may be saying that, but the town people are also saying that these prices of homes are too expensive, and we spend a lot of time on affordable housing, and then you shared this chart
Yeah.
that shows Chatham at the top. It is the price of the land, and I agree with your comment. There is going to be potentially a time when you can't go to a restaurant because it's only open 2 days out of a week, or a store or something.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned, I wrote down too, what Mr. Phillips said. You wrote down something about 600,000. What you've proposed in these three are not 600,000
No, I didn't
homes.
propose that 600,000 these.
Of course not. So.
I'm proposing
then-
that if we did a flexible zoning, and the cost of land is 90,000 a unit,
No,
paying
I-
almost $1 million for the lot.
You know what, I listened to you. You have an extensive resume, very impressive. You gave an impassioned presentation to us. I'm hearing over and over and over again that what you want aligns with what the town wants, but that's not what this proposal is. And I mean, I agree, and I mentioned at our last hearing, Hydrangea Lane was 2018. Kendrick Harvest was 2006. That was 20 years ago. What we're hearing repeatedly today is the comments that Paul was making about workforce housing, an ideal location, I would think, being able to walk right to downtown and support the downtown. So my question was, is there a way to a variance for something else?
No, not on this site.
I have a question in the same vein. Why don't we take a straw poll and see who would support a variance in this location? You want to give us guidance? Take a straw poll and let us know.
Can I just finish a couple of my sort of questions, comments? I heard what Mr. Dykens was saying too, and he's very close, obviously being a selectman on the select board, that we, like flexible zoning, attractive, attainable, these are things that we're hearing. I mean, that's what he was saying. He's hearing it too. So anyway, I just wanted to make that additional comment that I agreed with what he said, but I don't agree that this proposal is matching with what everyone is saying, what you're saying, Mr. Rudnick, what one of your supporters was saying. And anyway, that was my comment. Okay, Mr. Riley, sorry.
I would just say, we don't believe we'd get a variance. So if the board would take a straw poll, you're not committing to anything, but would you consider a variance in this location for a dormitory or workforce housing?
Steve?
Are we asking questions, or are we taking his straw poll?
You are asking questions.
I have no other questions, thank you.
Oh, okay. Lee?
My only question is if Mr. Rudnick could help me understand the flexible zoning concept a little bit more.
Not that hard. No, it's not, okay? You want to speak or want me to speak?
I want to speak.
I don't want you to speak. I want to speak.
It's already,
Okay.
flexible zoning is already in the bylaw.
I understand, but I want it to be everywhere, the whole town, okay, not in locations. Let it go to planning board, the Board of Appeals. If a person's got a 2-acre lot and wants to put 10 houses on it, and they do it, what you save is driveways, frontage, setbacks, and in building houses, basically saying condominium, and they all share with one driveway coming in, but they're all individual houses. So what happens, you buy the land for $80,000, $90,000 per unit, instead of paying $400,000, $600,000 for, I don't even know if you can buy a lot anymore in Chatham for $500,000, $600,000. That's the key. The same cost to build a small 3-bedroom house, say it's $400,000. whether you build it here in Dennis, okay, wherever you're going to build it. So the key is buying the land cheap, using flexible zoning, and put them on, and you'll be able to get our people that live here can afford $600,000 to $700,000. That's what I believe.
So Lee, the flexible zoning language is in our bylaw. And it used to be in several areas in town. We still have flexible zoning up in North Chatham along Route 28. There was a section of flexible zoning where in West Chatham, opposite Barnhill Road and the Shopaway Plaza. And we in the building community say the aunties went to town meeting and had the town meeting change the bylaw so we don't have that flexible zoning because they didn't want more houses. So, the language is there. All you have to do is add additional zones in the town where you could have flexible zoning. But basically,
this zone is not flexible zoning. This zone cannot
no.
be flexible zoning.
No, it's not.
no, they could,
It's got to be, it's not flexible, it's not in the zone, correct?
yeah, so, but you'd have to change the zoning bylaw to make this area flexible zoning, which means somebody's going to draft a bylaw, the planning, and it can't be a citizen petition. It's got to come from the town. Because then, when it comes from the town, the selectmen vote on it, the planning board votes on it, the finance committee votes on it, and then when it gets to town meeting, if those groups all approve it, then the voters generally approve it. But it's got to come from the town. It's got to come from the planning department.
Okay, thanks.
Dave? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought of something, but you haven't gone yet, so go ahead. Well, I just want to say, so, what I'm hearing is, a number of us or some of us on, I kind of have in our minds what a great spot this would be for something other than 3 single-family dwellings. But as been pointed out about the 3,000 square foot, put a kibosh on that to a certain extent. But also, Jay and I were having a discussion at it, and Jay, you mentioned that aside from that perhaps the water and sewer regulations might limit the number of rooms that could be on that property.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they would regulate that. I mean, you could approve whatever, pick a number, and then water and sewer might say, no, we don't have that capacity. We can't grant that much of a water usage. So I don't know what their regulations are or how they come about their approvals.
Thanks. I'm just trying to help illustrate. I mean, we're getting illustrations about how complicated what we might hope to be a simple process is somewhat more complicated. That's all. Sorry, Dave.
So, Mr. Riley brings up an interesting thing about having a straw vote and the understanding you can't say, I would vote for a special permit or a variance for something you don't have in front of you. But would you consider it? Is that correct?
correct.
Would you consider it? Okay. So I'll go first. I'm totally against 3 homes that are not going to be even vaguely affordable.
All the other homes.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm trying to speak, all right? You've had plenty of opportunity. Thank you. So I agree with what I've heard from Paul, Ginny, and I'm not too sure about the others, but I think Eddie, that workforce housing there makes a tremendous amount of sense as opposed to 3 and we have no idea how much you want to, let's say they're $2 million a piece or whatever it is, you know, they, so to answer your question, Mr. Riley, I personally would consider voting for a variance that produced workforce housing. So I'll go through everybody else. Dave?
Well, yes, yeah, I would support granting a variance. I mean, you know, one of the things that's become more clear, at least to me, in these discussions and various, is that, and been brought up by the applicants, is there's any number of other provisions in our zoning bylaw that we're now starting to see that create problems. And so, you know, we've had to deal with variance requests from inns and businesses and things, and the more and more I see that I would prefer, however, that things got changed on the bylaw level rather than it being dropped in our laps to grant variances. But that's a pie in the sky preference. Where we are now is the buck can stop here with respect to granting of variances. And so I think it's important for us to consider and think about this really carefully. And so, but yes, I would be inclined to, unless absent something I can't even possibly think of, or I mean, and we're all going to find out what these new interpretations of the you know, criteria for granting variances are, et cetera. But I would very much like to have a part in getting something that could work for Mr. Rudnick on this property, as well as work for the town, for the needs of the town. And I would support that in any way that I can.
Ed, how about you? Question about, can you see yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I feel for Mr. Rudnick, you know, he'd like to just move on. But unfortunately, in this zoning district, to do residential, you need this board's approval. And my concern is this property, there aren't many properties like this necessarily left in town where you can do some workforce housing, perhaps, some flexible zoning. I would go one step further. I would support a variance for a flexible zoning type of development, or workforce housing. And at an appropriate density that works for the town and works for you.
Paul?
I guess I'd like to hear Mr. Rudnick's view of whether he thinks that's an appropriate course of action for us.
Well, the problem is the soft costs of developing the property, either in workforce housing or even flexible, it's $200,000 or $300,000, give or take, engineering and stuff. The neighbors want 3 houses there. They made it very clear to me, okay? Matter of fact, one woman called me, wanted to make sure I don't do commercial there. So for me to go on the board here, and then someone can cut up and challenge it, I'm going to be even more stuck than I am right now. So I know I got 2 areas in town that I know I can get done because of where they are. One's a very large parcel, okay, where I can get no neighbors are involved. It'd be grateful. I think I can do both flexible zoning and workforce house, on the same site. That's how big the site is. So I really need to just move on. These 3 houses fit the neighborhood, what everybody else is there. With all due respect, I need to move on with this project, one way or another.
Okay, well, I guess you can see we're struggling with this in part because I think a number of us would probably favor using a variance to create the kind of housing and development that we think is necessary and it would be a good location here.
I agree with you, okay, that we need this kind of housing.
Yep.
And nobody's built more dormitory housing.
Rednick, please. I'm trying to get through this, okay?
I understand your position and I appreciate it. But I don't want to hold you hostage either. So what I'm saying is that, yes, I think it's likely that I would be favorable to a variance in this situation for the kind of housing we think is appropriate there. But I'm also mindful of what position that puts you in, and I'm concerned that you could end up in litigation and so forth. I don't want to be held hostage to people threatening us with litigation, because we get that all the time. But at the same time, I'm sympathetic to your position.
Ginny?
Oh. So you're here today because on June 25th, this board did not approve the 3 houses. They didn't, for a variety of reasons, but it didn't pass. And I think my 3 colleagues that spoke before have spoken very eloquently about why they would support it. And I think I have telegraphed in my comments before that I would also support it. The variance, that is.
Yeah, I think I probably would support a request for a variance, depending on what's proposed, because we do have to also consider the neighborhood, the neighbors in the neighborhood. So I think it's worth taking a shot at maybe coming up with some concepts of what something might be able to be done there. But I would be in favor of a variance for this type of housing.
Yes, as would I. This is clearly a tricky situation. I guess we were all hoping to see something a little bit different than these 3 homes. But this is what Mr. Rednick wants to do. So, but yes, I would be in favor of supporting a variance on some other project that involved flexible zoning or relief from some of our bylaws.
So, Mr. Riley, it's unanimous.
It hasn't been anything.
It's unanimous.
Doesn't mean anything.
I know, but unfortunately, Mr. Rednick really wants the 3 houses approved.
All right. Well, we answered your question.
I want to move on to flexible zoning. Okay, this is not the right area. The neighbors don't want it.
What would you like us to do, Mr. Riley?
Vote.
Vote?
Vote on the 3 houses?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then we should close the hearing, go into deliberations.
Okay. I move to close the hearing, move into deliberations.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
I vote yes.
And
Okay,
Pete votes yes.
deliberations. Paul?
Well, I think it's pretty clear what we would like to do. We would prefer not to have 3 houses going in there, given that the location appears to be, from our viewpoint at least, and hopefully from the viewpoint of a potential developer, potential for multiple housing. But I don't want to hold Mr. Rudnick hostage to that concept. So I would vote in favor of granting the housing arrangement that he has proposed.
Ginny?
I didn't support these the first time in June. Nothing's changed from the proposal, so I wouldn't support them.
Steve?
Well, I think the last time we were together, we asked the applicant to explore and justify that single-family homes were the best option for that property. And they did do some homework. They came back with some additional information. But we now have a variance option on the table that they don't seem receptive to. Since this is the only option that's before us, and it sounds like that's what the neighbors have in mind, I would probably support the 3 houses there. But leaving that open to hearing some options that we could explore through a variance.
Lee?
Well, I agree that these 3 homes would fit into the neighborhood. There's a lot of other homes just like them. Hydrangea Lane, Kendrick Harvest Way, and they would fit. It's not really what I want, but there's no doubt they would fit in the neighborhood. I'm also encouraged by what Mr. Rudnick says regarding other properties that he has in mind for some, flexible zoning and some workforce housing. I believe him, and I encourage him to work on those. As much as I don't really want these houses there, once again, I feel like Paul, I don't want to hold Mr. Rudnick hostage. I don't want to see that still vacant forever. I guess I would support these.
Dave Veach?
Yeah, I didn't, so, I was answering the question about the variance, and didn't mention, I guess now's the time to say that I am in agreement, very much in agreement with Paul and with Lee on this. I think at the last meeting, when I was beginning to comment about perhaps you might consider some deficiencies or changes that need to be made in the bylaw in order to help accommodate making it easier to provide workforce housing and missing middle housing and all the things that we need, and including dormitories and things. But I think I expressed the last time, and I continue to express that this board but it's been over a period of time, and there are some changes the board granted. But we approved Hydrangea Lane. I think it was before I was on the board that the approvals for the first 3 houses in Kendrick Harvest were done, but I know at least the first 2, but I didn't participate in that one. But and I didn't participate in the one just recently because of being in a butter, the one up at the south end of Crowell Road. But had I participated in that, I would have voted for that single-family dwelling there. Under not my first choice by any means, but I understand the position of the developer, and not only understand his position, but I think it's important, and I'm glad that Mr. Rudnick has taken some time to just kind of refresh in our minds some of what he's done with respect to housing and commercial development and things in town. He knows his business, he's good at it, and I know from experience of knowing him and working with him on some things, he mentioned the Orpheum, that he is very much concerned about and knows about these needs and would like to be able to respond to them. So this is not a place, I don't think this is a place where this is not a place where I could say, sorry, I'm going to shut the door. He wants to do this. It's allowed by the bylaw. We can grant and have granted for single-family dwellings in this neighborhood. And I don't think, I just don't think I don't feel it's right to hold him hostage or make him say, sorry, the door is closed now. I take him at his word that he has other possibilities that we can work with him on, and I think we want to be working with him. And so I very much will support this request.
Ed?
I feel there's only a few properties like this that scream flexible zoning or scream workforce housing. And I think you have a board here that would support that. So I don't know why you wouldn't go forward with that. I understand you'd like to go forward as is, and I feel for you, but my position would be that I don't want to see 3 single-family homes there. I want to see something more than that, something that's going to help the town more than 3 single-family homes. And I think this is a location and a property that can do that. And I would ask Mr. Rudnick to help us, and I know we're imposing on you regarding this, but if you could be a little bit patient, perhaps it could be a win-win for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Acton. Just saying, oh, okay, build those 3 single-family homes. To me, that's not what the town wants. It's not what the town needs. It's true, some of the neighbors say, well, this is okay. We also have a neighbor say this is terrible. Well, they're kind of looking at themselves, you know. This is beneficial to them. I believe the no vote is the absolutely correct here, as opposed to allowing 3 homes of undetermined value being put in there. They're not going to be priced for anybody in the lower income, medium income. They'll be higher priced. Let's face it. It's just wrong. And to not stick to that and not support the town who want the kind of housing we have discussed here, you know, to cave in and say, fine, go ahead and build these 3, and maybe something else will happen. That's wrong. It's really wrong. To me, the only vote is no. Okay, Dave, if you'll.
Okay, well, I'll move approval of application number 26-046 with, I think the only condition we might consider in this one would be all construction activity and vehicles should be contained on site or to neighboring property with permission of the property owner. And between June 30th and Labor Day, no work should be permitted on the weekends. Construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
I vote no.
Ginny votes no.
My gut says I vote no.
So the vote is 2 in favor, 3 no.
Did you vote?
Yeah, I voted in favor.
I thought you voted yes, Dave.
Yes, I
I'm
did.
sorry.
I did.
So-
If I didn't make that clear, I did. Yeah.
So
thanks.
2 yes and 3 no. That does not pass. Okay,
We have 2 more motions and 2 more votes.
okay, that's right, I have to do it on all
So,
3 of them. So go on to the second one, Dave, which would be,
which would be number 26-047.
that's right.
With the same conditions that I proposed, and yes.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
I vote no.
Ginny votes no.
I vote no.
And I vote yes.
Okay, and the next one?
and 26-048, again with the same conditions I proposed.
I'll second the motion and vote yes.
I vote no.
Ginny votes no.
I vote no.
And I vote yes.
Okay, so all three failed. 2 in favor, 3 against. Okay,
I'll move to adjourn.
all
Dave
right.
Veach seconds and votes yes.
All vote yes.
How about you, Ed? Are you like hanging
Ed
around?
definitely votes yes.
I vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
votes yes.
I vote
And the
yes.
official time, Sarah?
6:23 PM.
6:23 PM. Well, okay. Thank you all.